Yang berbahagia, Pengarah Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri, Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan dan Puan-Puan, Div-Div kehormat, panel webinar, para pembentang, rakan-rakan JPKN dan sidang hadirin yang dihormati sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera, salam Sabah Maju Jaya. Saya Muhammad Saifuddin bin Karim dan
Ana Suriani Osman.
Pengacara hari ini bersiaran secara langsung dari Pusat Pentadbiran Negeri Sabah. Selamat datang ke webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 yang membawa tema evolusi penyampaian perkhidmatan melalui inovasi digital.
This webinar is a joint program organized by the Sabah State Computer Services Department and the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation Sabah.
Yang berbahagia, Pengarah Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri, Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan dan Puan-Puan, Div-Div kehormat, panel webinar, para pembentang, rakan-rakan JPKN dan sidang hadirin yang dihormati sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera, salam Sabah Maju Jaya. Saya Muhammad Saifuddin bin Karim dan
Ana Suriani Osman.
Pengacara hari ini bersiaran secara langsung dari Pusat Pentadbiran Negeri Sabah. Selamat datang ke webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 yang membawa tema evolusi penyampaian perkhidmatan melalui inovasi. Yang berbahagia, Pengarah Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri, Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan dan Puan-Puan, Div-Div kehormat, panel webinar, para pembentang, rakan-rakan JPKN dan sidang hadirin yang dihormati sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang berbahagia, Pengarah Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri, Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan dan Puan-Puan, Div-Div kehormat, panel webinar, para pembentang, rakan-rakan JPKN dan sidang hadirin yang dihormati sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan
The highest appreciations and thank you to Yang Berbahagia Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Director of the Sabah State Computer Services Department, by officiating the Sabah State Government Agency ICT Webinar 2020. Hopefully, Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas. Distinguished audience, now we come to the next event and let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Q Anping, the SE Leaders as a Sales Engineering Southeast Asia from FireEye. Let us all lend our eyes and ears for the first speaker presentation session with the topic Getting Ready for a New Era of COVID-19 related cyber incidents. Distinguished audience, now we come to the next event and let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Q Anping, the SE Leaders as a Sales Engineering Southeast Asia from FireEye. Let us all lend our eyes and ears for the first speaker presentation session with the topic Getting Ready for a New Era. Distinguished audience, now we come to the next event and let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Q Anping, the SE Leaders as a Sales Engineering Southeast Asia from FireEye. Let us all lend our eyes and ears for the first speaker presentation session with the topic Getting Ready for a New Era of COVID-19 related cyber incidents. So let us all welcome Mr. Q Anping to continue the event.
yang berbahagia. Yang berbahagia, Pengarah Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri, Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan dan Puan-Puan, Div-Div kehormat, panel webinar, para pembentang, rakan-rakan JPKN dan sidang hadirin yang dihormati sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera, salam Sabah Maju Jaya. Saya Muhammad Saifuddin bin Karim dan
Ana Suryani Osman.
Pengacara hari ini bersiaran secara langsung dari Pusat Pentadbiran Negeri Sabah. Selamat datang ke webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 yang membawa tema evolusi penyampaian perkhidmatan melalui inovasi digital.
This webinar is a joint program organized by the Sabah State Computer Services Department and the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation Sabah. It is being held for the first time through online webinar and via the YouTube channel of the Sabah State Computer Services Department in a new normal environment when the whole world was tested with the COVID-19 pandemic. Before we continue today's podcast, friendly reminder from us so that the audience and all JPKN partners take care of their health and comply with the SOP from the National Security Council and the Ministry of Health Malaysia.
Sidang hadirin yang budiman, kini majlis dengan penuh hormat dengan takzimnya menjemput yang berbahagia Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Pengarah Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri untuk menyampaikan ucap tama sekaligus melancarkan serta merasmikan sesi webinar ICT AKNS 2020. Majlis dengan segala hormatnya mempersilakan yang berbahagia Puan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat sejahtera. Yang berbahagia Puan Jasmine Teo, Setiausaha Tetap Kementerian Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi Sabah, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan dan Puan-Puan yang saya hormati sekalian. Alhamdulillah, bersyukur kita kehadrat Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala atas limpah rahmat dan izinnya kita dapat bertemu sempena webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 secara maya pada tahun ini. Bagi pihak Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri, saya ingin merakamkan ucapan jutaan terima kasih kepada Kementerian Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi Sabah atas kesudian untuk bekerjasama bagi menjayakan webinar ini yang merupakan pertama kali diadakan secara maya. Sebelum ini, seminar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah telah diadakan setiap tahun di 5 wilayah utama dan dianjurkan di premis-premis fizikal seperti hotel-hotel utama di sekitar negeri Sabah. Datuk-datuk, datin-datin, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, tema webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah yang pertama pada tahun ini ialah pasca COVID, evolusi penyampaian perkhidmatan melalui inovasi digital. Bersesuaian dengan tema tersebut, dengan pandemik yang sedang berlaku sekarang, setiap agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah perlu mentransformasikan penyampaian perkhidmatan masing-masing ke dalam bentuk inovasi digital. Penglibatan secara fizikal perlu dikurangkan tanpa mengurangkan prestasi penyampaian perkhidmatan kita kepada masyarakat. Para Zoomers yang dihormati sekalian, melalui webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 hari ini, saya berharap datuk-datuk, datin-datin, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan dapat meningkatkan lagi ilmu pengetahuan ICT masing-masing bagi menghadapi cabaran era digital kini. Objektif program ini ialah untuk berkongsi perkembangan terkini dunia teknologi maklumat, terutama sekali dalam menghadapi cabaran pandemik COVID-19 dan mengembangkan budaya pembelajaran berterusan bagi meningkatkan pengetahuan, kemahiran dan sikap yang positif terhadap penggunaan ICT dalam kalangan penjawat awam. Program ini merupakan satu platform yang strategik untuk berkongsi teknologi terkini dan akan datang serta membentuk kerjasama dan sinergi antara agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah ke arah melonjakkan sistem penyampaian perkhidmatan awam melalui ICT yang melangkaui ekspektasi pengguna dan stakeholders. Saya yakin dengan usaha yang lebih mantap dan penyesuaian projek kerjasama yang berpadanan, kita mampu melaksanakan lebih banyak program seumpama ini pada masa akan datang. Datuk-datuk, datin-datin, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang saya hormati sekalian, perkembangan pesat era digital masa kini menjadikan peranan penjawat awam lebih mencabar. Justru itu, saya ingin menekankan bahawa penjawat awam perlu lebih peka dengan perkembangan ICT. Mungkin disedari ataupun tidak, dengan pandemik yang sedang berlaku sekarang, telah memaksa semua penjawat awam meningkatkan literasi ICT masing-masing. Semenjak Mac 2020, semua penjawat awam telah mahir dengan pelaksanaan 5A seperti yang disarankan oleh Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Panglima Setiausaha Kerajaan Negeri kita, iaitu available at any time, anywhere, using any device. Buktinya pada hari ini, bermesyuarat, berseminar secara video conferencing telah menjadi budaya dan aktiviti seharian para penjawat awam. Banyak lagi budaya-budaya teknologi digital yang boleh digarap oleh penjawat awam dalam meningkatkan penyampaian perkhidmatan agensi masing-masing. Semoga program hari ini dapat membantu para penjawat awam dalam menghasilkan idea dan inisiatif baru bagi memantapkan sistem penyampaian perkhidmatan awam yang lebih berkesan serta memenuhi kehendak pelanggan. Di dalam kegairahan kita menggunakan apa jua aplikasi dalam talian, para penjawat awam perlu sentiasa beringat agar maklumat kerajaan yang diurus menggunakan medium cyber perlu dikendalikan dengan mengikut dasar keselamatan ICT yang telah ditetapkan. Ini bagi mengelakkan sebarang ketirisan maklumat yang mana boleh dimanipulasi oleh pihak-pihak tertentu untuk memburukkan kerajaan serta menyebarkan berita palsu dan tidak benar kepada rakyat. Dengan itu, sikap berhemah dan bertanggungjawab ketika menggunakan medium cyber haruslah dipraktikkan dan dibudayakan oleh semua penjawat awam. Dalam menyokong pelaksanaan kerajaan digital, Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri telah siap membangunkan plan strategik jabatan ini untuk tempoh 5 tahun akan datang. Berdasarkan perubahan dunia digital yang amat pesat pada masa ini, plan strategik ini hanyalah rujukan dan ianya adalah tertakluk kepada perubahan teknologi yang mungkin lebih canggih atau lebih relevan pada tahun-tahun mendatang. Untuk makluman juga, JPKN sentiasa mengkaji teknologi yang telah sedia dan sesuai digunakan bagi meningkatkan penyampaian perkhidmatan kerajaan kepada rakyat. Datuk-datuk, datin-datin, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang saya hormati sekalian, program setengah hari pada hari ini akan membentangkan 3 tajuk utama daripada FireEye Southeast Asia, sebuah entiti daripada bidang keselamatan cyber, satu lagi daripada bidang rangkaian komputer iaitu daripada Aruba Malaysia, dan akhir sekali daripada VMware Malaysia yang akan menyentuh tentang teknologi terkini pengurusan maklumat. Ceramah-ceramah ini akan diselang-selikan dengan persembahan ringkas mengenai fungsi-fungsi bahagian-bahagian utama di Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri. Program hari ini juga diceriakan lagi dengan hadiah-hadiah bagi soalan-soalan terbaik dan cabutan bertuah kepada para peserta yang berdaftar dan aktif dalam program hari ini. Sebelum webinar ini berakhir, Puan Setiausaha Tetap Kementerian Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi akan mengumumkan pemenang bagi 3 anugerah di peringkat kementerian dan saya juga akan mengumumkan 3 anugerah di peringkat wilayah. Tahniah dan syabas kepada penerima-penerima anugerah ICT. Saya berharap semoga webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 ini menjadi platform dalam pencetusan idea-idea baru yang kreatif dan inovatif serta memberikan pendedahan trend terkini teknologi kepada semua peserta. Saya merakamkan ucapan terima kasih dan penghargaan kepada Kementerian Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi, Bahagian Latihan dan Kompetensi JPKN dan Bahagian Operasi Teknikal JPKN serta orang perorangan serta semua pihak yang telah berusaha keras untuk menjayakan program hari ini. Maka dengan itu, selamat berwebinar dan selamat menyambut Tahun Baharu 2021. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
highest appreciations and thank you to Yang Berbahagia Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas, Director of the Sabah State Computer Services Department, by officiating the Sabah State Government Agency ICT Webinar 2020. Hopefully, Puan Erniwati Dewi Abbas sharing can benefit all the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, the AKNS 2020 ICT Webinar with the theme of the evolutions of service delivery through digital innovations is now official.
Apa kata kita saksikan tayangan video daripada bahagian infrastruktur Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri Sabah. Selamat menonton.
Distinguished audience, now we come to the next event and let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Q Anping, the SE leaders as the Sales Engineering Southeast Asia from FireEye. Let us all lend our eyes and ears for the first speaker presentation session with the topic getting ready for a new era of COVID-19 related cyber incidents. So let us all welcome Mr. Q Anping to continue the event.
Morning, everyone. Okay, let me try to share my screen. Can the host allow me to share my screen, please? Thank you. Morning. Thanks Thanks for making time and the invite to speak to this prestige audience. It is interesting in the time of unrest with the disruptions coming from a global pandemic. Interestingly, when I last spoke to the same audience 2 years ago, we were able to do a physical event. I still remember clearly, it's like yesterday when I was in my first visit to Sabah, and I was talking about our endpoint detection and technology. So today, what we have prepared for you in conjunction with the topic for today, it's about the changes expected, especially when it comes to this unfortunate incidents that's happening around the world. So without further ado, I'll start off with giving everyone a understanding of an update on the threat landscape that FireEye has observed, particularly that will impact Malaysia as well as the region. So quick questions to everyone. You can put it in the chat. You can have it in your mind. When you think about cyber attacks, right? And if you link this to nation state cyber attacks, what are the typical countries that come to your mind? Okay, I'm sure some of you that is updated and understanding where the threats are coming from a global perspective. There are a few usual names, countries that you will come to your mind. But for this session, I will bring closer to what FireEye sees in terms of, and this is one of our threat intelligence report that we published back in October this year. That is to highlight some of these emergent cyber powers. So if you look at this world map and what is highlighted in different shades of blue and grays, you will kind of understand that these are the countries that is actually emerging that we have observed to have a significant amount of cyber attack related activities observed branching and related to this country. And if you look at where we sit in this part of the world, we unfortunately these emerging cyber powers are surrounding where we are in Malaysia as well as Southeast Asia. Okay, so I'll go into a little bit of details about who are these countries that we are speaking about. So a little bit of background in terms of what we have released in this threat intelligence report. So in terms of, so one of the key things that FireEye as a cybersecurity vendor does is to basically investigate, threats that we have seen around the world. And what we have observed and we have accessed this with high confidence that some of these countries are developing cyber espionage capabilities that allows them to protect naturally their national interests. If you look at the table on the right-hand side, these are some of the countries that is being observed and called out in the report. And together with the tools as well as the scope. Tools in this case are cyber attack tools, whether are they using publicly available ones or did they develop something natively within their capabilities. And from the scope perspective is who are they targeting, right? And these are some of the mapping in terms of the countries as well as the target they are going for, whether it is a particular individual to the government or some private entities. So calling out some of these countries that we have observed. So one of them is actually Vietnam, and they have been observed, and we have named an APT group, APT 32, and I believe this is we named that in the time frame of 2018-19. And if you look at what we have stated in the report, even before we start to call them out as a nation state level cyber with cyber capabilities. We have been observing them since 2012. So if you look at what they are actually going for, things like automobile, to basically make sure that everyone is conforming to their strict import rules. So in a way, in terms of their motivation behind, it is really to gain strategic and economic information that it is dealing in this part of the world or relating to Vietnam. The second country is India. We have not really named a APT group behind them, but we have gathered enough information to name a TAM group called TAM Kata, and we have been observing them since 2014. If you look at what they primarily are doing, it's really looking at the neighbors. In this case, the conflict with the neighboring country like Pakistan. Some of the key things that they are doing is really surrounding and protecting their national interests, as well as anything related to diplomatic as well as political situations. They have been using things like spear phishing campaigns. And one of the campaigns that they have used is called Breeze Sugar, really looking at, and the reason why we call this out in this call, it is that we have seen it targeting Southeast Asian governments. Okay. Last country, Pakistan. Interestingly, we have named APT 36 behind this them. And if you look at it, it is probably, kind of, against the motivation behind is really to support their military as well as political interests. Of course, their primary target in this case are Indian-based organization. But that they actually goes beyond that, as called out in our report, targeting their own citizens, as well as some of these diplomats, and stated in the screen. So from an industry perspective, they are actually they are known to be targeting government, military, as well as private organizations like construction, pharmaceutical, as well as education. Right. So that's kind of a quick wrap up of the threats that we should be concerned about, particularly that's branching and surrounding the Southeast Asia country as well as Malaysia. So with that, just allow me to do a one slider for those that have not or do not understand FireEye. Just one slider to share with you who we are and what we do. So we are a global cybersecurity organization, and we are publicly listed and have customers around the world that's using our product and services. And we are pretty well known across all sectors. And for those that has been updated with the recent cybersecurity news in the world, you will notice that in the recent month, in the early December, we will call out that we are being a victim of a cyber attack, and through this, it kind of showcases FireEye's strength, where during our investigations in this cyber attack against FireEye, we have uncovered a global campaign, right? That it is using the supply chain, in this case, the SolarWinds platform. And we were able to, and we are the first vendor across all the cybersecurity vendors that's in the market to have observed this and pointing this out and working with the US regulators as well as the enforcement agencies to make sure that this and this investigation is still ongoing, but that really highlighted our strengths as a cybersecurity company. We are probably best well known or as the emergency room of cybersecurity. With where we are always named. Whenever you hear about large breaches in the world, that they will always reference to that FireEye is involved in helping them in the investigations. So some of the recording like this. I'm sorry, you guys may not be able to hear the audio. So these are some of the recording, right, from that is kind of linked or named that FireEye has been helping them in terms of their investigation. So let me go back to today's topic, right, in terms of COVID-related incidents that FireEye has observed. One key things that what we have done in preparation for this session is to use a combination of what you have probably seen and heard in the news, as well as things that FireEye has investigated and produced as in terms of the evidence that's showing that how these attackers has been leveraging on the theme of COVID-19. Okay, and in particular, we're going to focus on threats in email. In this particular case, what we have called out by one of our senior manager of our intelligence analyst, Mr. Ben Reed, is that we're seeing hackers are using fake WHO emails, right, to exploit the coronavirus fears. And this is probably one of the known tactics used by the attackers, right? It is not COVID is just one of the one of the longest lasting campaign that they can leverage on, as everyone is concerned, everyone in the world is actually affected. So it's easy for them to use it as a topic to connect, right, with their victim to trick them in terms of getting these connections with them. So what we have said in this particular note is that people are worried and they are going to have a high interest about new information on the pandemic, and this created a particular lure to click. Right, so it's really preying on our interest on the topic, and the real intention behind that is to basically connect to you as a user. And more of that as what we have observed. This is probably naming a different set of cyber attackers that's motivated in a different means, right? While some of the cyber attackers may be motivated to whether or not create political situation, and some of them are actually going for financial gains, right? And in this particular issued statement by FireEye, we have said that we have seen financially motivated actors using coronavirus theme phishing in many campaigns with dramatic, right, month-over-month volume increase from January through to today. And you look at in the news, and it is ongoing. It is just piling on this topic of coronavirus. And this is what we mean as an example, right? And this is one of the evidence that we have collected as a company when we have performed some of this investigation work. If you look at the sample email on the left-hand side, it can be someone that named, in this case, is sent from someone named John DeFranco. But knowing these attackers, they will use names, domains, that will try to connect to you as a user. And if you look at it about this phishing, and this is a real phishing email that we have seen in the wild, right? And if you look at the email itself, it contains no attachments, It is just a simple topic to connect. And again, the motivation is to basically trick the users in clicking on the link, right? So, and I believe these were sent out in March 10, right? So if you look back in time, much earlier this year, where the coronavirus is still yet to peak, you'll notice that some of these, when this email actually appears on your personal mailbox, appears on your corporate mailbox, right? Naturally, you will be tempted to click and to find out more information, right? In this particular case, right, we have linked these campaign to a threat actor group called Tam Warlock, which is known to be targeting financial as well as manufacturing sectors. Though the geo in this case are more US and Europe centric, but the method is actually quite common, right? Where they will send email and attempt to connect to the users to basically click on the link. And if you look at the key, a sample email like this, right, it's easy to slip through the crack by the email security solutions that you may have in your environment. So it is probably very easy for very easy for attackers to create such an email, but difficult for defenders like us, right, to detect them. Okay. Some other campaigns seen by us, right, and you look at this, it's actually piling on the relief, right. In this case, is related to Canada when they have released a COVID-19 relief package for their citizens. And for anyone, right? So imagine this is being blasted out to all the unfortunate victims that has lost the job, because of the economic situation in the world. And naturally, if you are such a victim that you potentially have lost a job, it's probably easy, you'll be very tempted to click on this link, right? And then, unfortunately, in this particular case, right, this is actually a loaded attachment. When the victim actually clicks on it, what will happen is that they will be, kind of infected. The machines will be infected and compromised. That allows the attackers to use it as a foothold to either their organization or, to the individual. And if you look at some of these things that the attackers are doing, right? A lot of times, what anti-spam, right, or email security solution does is to attempt to scan the email. So what the attackers has done is to basically use things like password protected, malicious macro. So once it's password protected, it will be seems like encrypted. So naturally, the email solutions that you have may not be able to scan it. And you look at the highlighted in bold point that for the attackers to interact with the users, what they usually do is to embed password, right? So if you look at it, the password is actually embedded inside the email itself, easy for the users to click to open the attachment and just key in the password themselves, right? Again, these are common techniques used by the attacker, nothing new, but what they are actually leveraging on is to use the COVID-19 topic as a way for them to use an old trick in a new form. So if you look at it, like what I've mentioned earlier, this is nothing, right? It is nothing novel or nothing new that the attackers are doing, right? If you look at the historical event that's happened over the years, the attackers are actually using, these news headline, right, to create connections with the users. Things like, probably close to our heart is the missing airplane of MH370, right? So if you guys recall, back in those days when news was out, what we have also seen is also using attackers using this as a lure to basically blast out email, phishing email to connect with the users, and other topics of interest that's happening around the world. So I guess what we should be concerned with as a user as a user of the internet world is to be more familiar and more aware of such an attack as it happens. So what happens, right? If what happens if there's an email threat that's coming through, right? So if you look at it, right, email address, right, it is basically like a means, right, for the attackers to connect directly to you as an individual user, and the attackers know this principle behind, right? Things that we have taken for granted as email as a tool, as a communication tool, right? And they knows that in fact almost everyone in a organization will have the email address that allows them to connect directly to, right? So from a one of the threat that we see, right, whenever phishing email comes through, is what the industry term as a business email compromise, right? And it's a little bit different from the COVID theme one. If you look at this, right, some of these example, and if you look at these example, right, it is just another way to look at business email compromise. Another term to describe it is called impersonation attacks. And behind impersonation attacks, right, what the attackers is trying to do is to basically mimic someone that you may know, right? It can be your head of department, it can be your CEO, it can be the head of state, and so on and so forth. And these are some of the real emails that we have captured over the months and years. And look at it, what the attackers is doing, right? And it's very, again, it's similar to the earlier COVID theme phishing email, where there, and in this particular case, it's even harder for anyone to detect this, right? The attackers will just send a 1-2 liner email attempting to connect to you as a user, right? So in this case, like what you see in the screen are basically someone trying to pretend that they are a CEO. They are trying to pretend that you have a pay slip that's delivered to you, right? If you look at it, there is no attachment, there is no link, right? What the attacker really wants to do is for you to reply to the email, and they will know that they managed to hook you and get to you and manage to trick you as a victim. So in the situation of business email compromise, the usual motivation behind these attackers, right, is really usually, right, most of the time related to financial gains, right? So meaning whenever you imagine you receive this email and you reply to it, naturally what they will be doing is to connect to the user and start to ask for financial gains to benefit the users or the attackers. So other than that, other than emails, other threats, there's COVID-19 link, Trojans, i.e. threats in software, right? And what we have observed that's happening in the wild when the COVID is happening and reporting more and more infection, is that there are really what the attackers has done is publish applications, right? It can be things that you install on your computer, and most likely it will be a mobile application that allows you to install on your mobile devices. So in this case, what the attackers has done is creating threat maps, right, that shows how the infections is going around the world, and what's is going behind this application is the ability for the attackers to mimic, in this case, right, something that looks like the actual applications, but what is going behind is basically a Trojanized application. When it's Trojanized, what it means that they can actually leverage on the application that you install, that you thought that is the real application, and start to interact with your computers to either get more information out or use that as a way to discover more about the Wi-Fi your mobiles is connected. So imagine that if you are if you have installed this Trojanized threat map application on your mobile phone, and that you have connected to your department's Wi-Fi using your personal device, right? And the attackers potentially would be able to use this application and start to discover your network connectivity, right, in your offices. Other than that, of course, things like ability to basically infect, right, Trojan. In this case, what's happening as a repercussion, right, of installing the Trojanized apps is to basically attack, right, in this case the Android mobile phones, in terms of encrypting the personal data, your photos, and then ransoming, sending a ransom note like this that you see on the screen to ask for payment, right? And you look at it, the payment they're asking is small, but you accumulate. So imagine this touch wood happens to your mobile phone, and your precious photo apps or photos are being encrypted. And what you naturally will do is to just pay the $100, right? So that's again what the attackers are doing, going for small little wins like this, but cumulative, what they will eventually get out of this is financially gains that that's happening around the world. So this is interesting stories, right, that we have observed, right? So one of the things that our threat intel analyst does is to basically mingle around in what the world or the cyber world term as the underground economy. And this is what we have observed, right? There are kind of when some cyber attackers on the left hand side was still trying to leverage on the coronavirus theme threats. And you look at some of the comments made by other of these hackers, is that they are making comments like why are you they seems to have found a conscience behind it, right? That hey, I think we have made enough money. It is wrong to leverage on the theme to exploit on a very bad situation, right? So this is a interesting story that's happening around the underground economy. While we are seeing phishing emails, Trojanized applications, there are also different schools within the hackers. They're saying that hey, stop doing this, right? Interesting things that we've observed in the underground economy. So one of the key impact that we have all observed, right, and this is quite common, not just in Sabah, not in Malaysia, but in every part of the world, is because of the COVID situation, we are forced to work remotely, right? And unfortunately, it gives us, it allows us to retain, maybe make us more productive to be working from home. But unfortunately, the unfortunate truth is also it presents a different avenues for attackers, right, to infiltrate. So there is a key difference between working from home and working from work, right? So if you look at if you are using a mobile laptop and you are connected to your office before COVID, you'll be protected with the cyber tools, the cyber defenses that your corporations, right, has built to protect you as a users. But the unfortunate truth is that once you work from home, you're using your home Wi-Fi. You are using you may or may not be connected to your corporate VPN, right? So again, you are left defending yourself, right? Like for example, I'm taking my call. This call from home, and what's protecting myself is really if I manage to connect a VPN back to my corporate, I know that I'll be protected. But unfortunately, if I am not, right, then what is defending me is really the defenses that you have set up in your Wi-Fi, which is less secure. They have usually have a very basic network firewall to protect you. They may or may not have other tools to protect you. And if you look at it, the usage of computers. So some of the organizations that we have spoken in the regions, right? Organizations like operate out in Philippines, Indonesia, and some of these emerging countries. They may not have the luxury to be issued a laptop. So what some of these corporations is doing is to get them to use their home computers, right? And we know that home computers, while you try to secure the connections from your home computer for them to access work and stuff like that, the unfortunate truth is it is not as secured, right, as the corporate issued laptop that has got the right endpoint security tools with the right policies and updates to secure it. And of course, last but not least, we look at the distractions we have at home, right? So when you are in office, you have a good environment, but whenever you're home, there are different distractions that you might get. For example, browsing of a certain website, checking on your personal email and stuff like that. And once you commingle that against what's happening, commingle that against the work that you're doing on the same computer, and that elevates the threat of the attacks when you are working from home. So some of the things that we have seen, right, and this is one of our ICS experts working in FireEye. And if you look at it, some of you guys may be working for national CII environment, right? So in this particular cases, what we have called out is once you work from home and if you belong to the sector of national CIIs, right? Meaning you may be working in the utility company, telecommunications, and so on and so forth, right? And it is very difficult for these operators to secure themselves and work remotely, right? And you look at it and that as the risk of working from home and particularly to the NCII organization, you will be operating you will be even on higher risk as compared to the rest of those working in different industries. And if you look at it, probably the best way to protect ourselves as we work remotely is to make sure that we provide necessary cybersecurity training as well as awareness, heightened ones, right? And we conduct annual ones, but because of the COVID situation, because of the everyone is working from home, it is required for us, right, to provide the necessary training, right, to these remote workers. Okay, I'm going to speed things up a little bit to talk about some of these nation states actors, right? If you look at it, this is what we observe, right? We have observed espionage actors from China, North Korea, Russia, really trying to use this to conduct their attacks. And if you look at it, some of the motivations that they're behind them, right, is that they are actually using this against this part of the world as well. So last bit on this is that what can you do, right, to protect yourself as a user? Some of you may have seen this attack life cycle that FireEye has been using this for the past decade. For those that's familiar with the cyber security world, some of you may have heard about a term called the kill chain. And this is the FireEye interpretation of a kill chain. So always remember that whenever a cyber attack happens by a well-organized, motivated attacker, they will always follow a very structured methodology, right? In this case, they are these are the phases of the attacks that will take place when they conduct their launch attack against any organization, right? So when breach happens, usually it happens in the initial compromise phase, and everyone naturally think that that is the impact. Right? And if you look at the real truth behind it, right? So if someone sent you a phishing email or sent you a trojanized a Word document, right? And you unfortunately landed on your computer, right? What can you do, right? To prevent? Do you think that is the impact?
Excuse me, Mr. Kui.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Kui. Can we go to Q&A, please?
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me just finish out this part. So just know that the impact is not receiving an email, is when the attacker managed to steal things from your environment. Okay. And just the last slide on the recommendations as you can do, right, in terms of protecting yourself, good understanding of what's going on, use technology, and it is everybody's responsibility when it comes to cybersecurity. and be always ready to respond and report any
Yeah,
suspicious activity. Okay, yeah. I'll open for any questions and answers.
Hello, Mr. Kui.
Yes.
There's a question. What's your view on My Sejahtera app? Does it open up more loopholes for the attackers?
Sorry, I'm not familiar with the My Sejahtera app, but in my opinion, any application that exposes have connectivity, because naturally these applications, right, what it does is trying to provide a service to the citizens, right? And what naturally we'll be doing is, because of the connectivity coming from the citizens that may be operating in any part of the world, they may be in Malaysia, they may be traveling out of the country, and this application naturally is trying to provide as a convenience tool, right, to the citizens. And what will happen is that it presents, right, another avenue for the attackers to basically get information. And if you look at what's happening around the world whenever there is cyber breaches happening, of course, what the attackers is naturally wanted to go after information, right? So if this my understanding of what this app does is really exposing, allowing you to access your own information, right, from the government database. And being a database, it is basically like a pot of gold, right? So naturally, you will attract, on one hand, attract attackers to be looking at the app itself. On the other hand, right, because of the application, it will also present a way for the attackers to mimic, right? So just now in my slide, I talk about, what the Trojanized applications, right? Some of the attackers, if they are targeting, Malaysians, right, or East Malaysians, and for them to connect to you as a users, they might, create an app that looks like the same app that they are trying to access. So while I don't think it will present too much, because usually when you and these apps are being created, there will be layers of defense to protect the data, to protect the users. But one thing the app, once it's gets its popularity, gets the downloads goes up. What naturally comes is attackers trying to create things that look like the application itself.
Okay. Next question, Mr. Kui.
Yes.
What if not all government servants have personal or computer at home and they just do work using their mobile phone? Do the government have to think about this problem? What about the security risks that they might get using mobile phone to do work from home?
So if you look at, so if you're using mobile phone, right? So the target surface. So if you look at what FireEye has observed, right? At least from a population of the attacks, right? So imagine if I'm an attacker, right? If I want to create an attack that will work for maybe 90 to 95% of the environment, right? So naturally, what I will do as an attacker is to create something that will run on a computer. For them to create something useful and to be running on, for example, iPhone or iOS phone or Android phone, right? They will basically, it is more difficult for them to do that. And the rewards, right? So maybe if I created, imagine a mobile application that's Trojanized, and unfortunately, maybe the population in the organization maybe just 5, 10, or 50, or maybe let's say 25%, right? It's using mobile phone to do their work. So for them to reap the reward is actually lower. So in this case, I would say the risk is still there, but it's not as high as those that it is really using normal desktop or laptops. And the last bit is that if you look at mobile devices, the newer mobile devices, what this manufacturer has done is really, employing things like encryption, enforcing things like only, signed applications that's running. So with the company, I'll say with the combination of, things like a mobile security solutions that secure the mobile device, together with, protecting the access as well as information, and that will, covers, right, the risk of threats, targeting these mobile users.
Okay, Mr. Kui, last questions. This is from Noor Avalina Francis Abdullah. She asks, just in case of we had been attacked by email or any other platform or has been a victim of unknowingly threats, where should we go to report?
Okay, so always, I understand that the users in this course come from different government entities within the Sabah state. As a reference, right, always refer back to your incident response plan, right, and as well as your escalations channels. So it really depends on the individual government entities as well as the department, right? So, but as a norm that we have observed across governments as well as private organization, there will always be a incident response team that or IT security alias, email alias or hotline that you should be aware of, right? So always use the same channel that it is enforced by your department or your government agencies to report suspicious activities.
Thank you, Mr. Q. This is the last question from Muhammad Azizan Ismail. He says, I'm an operator wireless working with my colleagues 24/7 using a navigational software. Should there be an espionage intrusion to retrieve our data? How do we identify it in the computer? Is there a way?
So thanks for the question, right? So this is a really valid point, right? I would say anything suspicious, right? So using FireEye experience when we have investigated, in terms of breaches. So some of these breaches actually happens like in your environment, right? The gentleman who asked this question, that it is in oil and gas, in power utility. So this environment are usually very closed, and yet the cyber attackers was seen to be successful, right, in introducing viruses, malware, and attack into this environment. And what was some of these telltale signs that will spring up are suspicious activity. So if you look at it, right, if you notice that, for example, your computer start to slow down drastically or noticeably, right, or if your applications start crashing, or basically something that is out of norm on the computer, right? Especially for those devices, the navigation devices that you spoke about, right? By right, you are not supposed to install any third-party things on it, and suddenly you notice that it start to slow down for no reason. My suggestion is straight away report this to your IT security team for them to look for any suspicious activity, right? They will be equipped with the right tools that will enable them to remotely or forensically, right, investigate what could be the root cause of the problem. It might be real applications, but in these situations, right, it is always better to be careful. So my suggestion is whenever you see anything suspicious, crashing of your applications, slowing down of your application or network, start to report this to your IT security department.
Okay, Mr. Kui, thank you for your time. We have almost 16 questions, but due to time constraint, we cannot answer all of them.
Okay.
So we'd like to thank everyone who submitted their questions. So Mr. Kui, can you just please wrap up for the next 5 minutes? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question, and apologies that that I was too passionate talking about what's happening. So while today's theme in the call, right, we spoke about using COVID as a theme, right? So I guess the gentle reminder that FireEye and JPKNS, what we want to bring to everyone in the audience is attackers will be using topics of interest to connect to you as a user, right? And we have seen in a lot of past cases, right? The easiest way for the attackers to target any organization is to look for the weakest link, right? And the weakest link, unfortunate truth is that it's every one of us, right? Anyone that has got the email address, anyone that has ability to connect to your agency's resources, and especially because of COVID situation, although the vaccines is ready, we will be expected to work from home in the next maybe 6-9 months or even longer, right? So the attacker knows that the avenue to reach out to you as a users to attack your organization is not just within the office now, right? There's actually branch beyond the office. And like in this last slide that I flashed out, right? Some statistics for you to ponder about, right? This is statistic that we have tabulated, through our investigations as well as observations in the industry, right? So averagely in the APAC organization, right, it takes almost 2 months for anyone to detect that there's intrusion. And if you look at, some of you may have heard about the term called ransomware, right? And it just takes 3 days, right, for attackers to deploy a ransomware or start to encrypt files. But with the right people, technology, as well as your assistant as a user, right, you have, right, every organization have the ability to reduce it down to 2 hours. So think about these questions as you bring this back to your colleagues as well as your team. How long does it take for you to detect an incident, right, or suspicious activity? Right.
Okay.
So with that, I'll wrap up today's session.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kui. Thank you so much for your time, and we hand it back to the studio. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
Untuk meneruskan webinar kita pada hari ini, Apa kata kita saksikan tayangan video yang kedua daripada bahagian pembangunan aplikasi Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri Sabah. Selamat menonton. Tibalah masanya yang dinanti-nantikan oleh semua peserta pada hari ini, yaitu cabutan bertuah. Terima kasih kepada peserta yang berjaya dan tidak berjaya, jangan putus asa. Sekali lagi, kita putar lagi. Tanya kepada Nurmalina Abdul Malik, Anda bertua pada hari ini. Sekian, terima kasih.
next speaker is Mr. T.S. Sabri Hamza, Pre-Sales Engineer from Aruba, Malaysia. With the title of the presentations sessions for today, Experience the Age. Please welcome.
Okay, selamat pagi, very good morning, right? Before I proceed, right, let me introduce myself, okay? So my name is Sabri bin Hamzah, mungkin saya boleh guna Dewi bahasa lah, right? So hopefully tuan-tuan dan puan-puan still in the good condition, right, during this COVID situation, okay? I hope everybody still in the kesihatan yang bagus, alright? So before I start, right, okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Sabri Hamzah, okay. Saya adalah pre-sales engineer daripada Aruba, Malaysia. So mungkin senang bagi saya untuk berurusan dengan menggunakan Dewi bahasa, either English or bahasa Malaysia. So if you guys don't don't understand or you have any question, boleh terus type soalan melalui Q&A punya buttons, okay? So without further delay, right, today saya akan present berkaitan dengan experience the age, new era of technology. So before I start further juga, right, saya nak buat introduction pasal Aruba. So it's actually Aruba is a solution for Wi-Fi, okay? For those familiar for Wi-Fi technology, right, which is HP, Hewlett Packard Enterprise already acquire Aruba, and then we are evolve our technology. So kalau kita tengok dekat sini, if you see here, right, start journey which is 2002, okay, security, right, and then kita evolve into our technology with security BYOD, guest access, location service, cloud networking, and also AI ops. So kenapa saya touch berkenaan dengan this slide, because what is benefit Aruba can bring to the customer, can give to the customer during this situation, which is specific COVID situation. Later saya akan emphasize further. So just to little bit hisap, saya just nak bagi tahu, which is Aruba, kita dah evolve kita punya teknologi, right? For those yang dah familiar dengan solution Aruba, which is Wi-Fi dengan switches, right? Security, we also acquire, which is solution daripada SD-WAN technology, which is Silver Peak. Okay, so kalau tengok kat sini, start this year 2020, we acquire this acquisition, which is Silver Peak, which is we want to emphasize further in term in technology SD-WAN, SD branch. With those nowadays, we are looking at nowadays customers sekarang ni kebanyakan working from home. Okay, so macam mana kita boleh orang cakap make sure user yang kerja daripada anywhere, any place, right, can access the same experience macam dia dekat office. Okay, later saya akan emphasize further. So the next slide is actually leading customer in every industry. Right, kalau tengok kat sini, yes, no doubt kebanyakan customer dekat sini yang guna Aruba, right, which is US, which is outside of Malaysia. But if you notice here, right, ada satu customer which is UTHM. For those heard about UTHM, is a university located at Johor, which is site is Batu Pahat, where this UTHM is one of our customer, university customer that using end-to-end Aruba solution from the wired, wireless, and also together security, right? So in Sabah, just want to share, right, which is UMS also using our solution. So what I want to emphasize using kenapa Aruba, right, include this university, I just want to emphasize which is UTHM, right? Maybe I can share a little bit information, right? UTHM is actually one of our customer in Malaysia, which is university portfolio that using kita punya Aruba, and then during COVID situation, apa yang this university buat, dia membuat satu modus operandi yang mana menggalakkan lecturer, yang mana lecturer boleh bekerja di rumah dengan menggunakan Wi-Fi Aruba. So if let's say that lecturer menggunakan Wi-Fi component Aruba, whether she or he want to access the Wi-Fi, anywhere, any place, such as from McDonald's, Starbucks, right? They can access the Wi-Fi using the satu solution which is called remote AP. Later saya akan share what is the remote AP looks like. So this is actually what Aruba can tell, which is we want customer that using our solution not to stop during the office only. Okay, what I want to address is actually, okay, for those customer yang have to work from home, right, during COVID situation, have to orang cakap do conference call, okay, so they can still have connectivity same like their connectivity at their office. Okay, a commitment to innovation with IT and user experience in mind. So just want to share a little bit further. It's actually dalam Aruba, we introduce a lot of capability, right? So the latest innovation that we introduce is actually AI Ops. AI Ops stand for Artificial Intelligence Operation. So yang mana di dalam trend terkini, latest teknologi yang mana sekarang ni bila sebut pasal latest teknologi, is it requirement boleh accommodate dengan ML. What is ML? ML is actually machine learning. So apa yang saya nak share, which is Aruba, okay, it's not only the physical hardware, okay. So in term in software, we are already on cakap evolve in term in technology, which is AI Ops, improve our performance, right? And then using analytic driven and also have capability 6 to monitor and also improve the Wi-Fi ataupun wired. So this is called AI Ops. So not to forget Wi-Fi 6, alright. For those tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang tahu berkenaan dengan Wi-Fi 6, okay, it's actually latest technology. Bila sebut Wi-Fi 6, it's actually this technology already starting 2018. So now we are 2020, another few days we are going to reach to 2021. Okay, so talking about Wi-Fi 6, I hope everybody understand what is a Wi-Fi 6. It's actually to enhance and also to give high efficiency to the device that connect through Wi-Fi. So kalau tengok kat sini, the new height of performance capacity of mobile user IoT device, this is what we want to emphasize. Yang mana kebanyakan kementerian, jabatan swasta, right, jabatan-jabatan kerajaan negeri, okay, kebanyakan bila berkenaan dengan wireless, okay, the rule of thumb is either sekarang ni kebanyakan diorang dah embedded dengan IoT punya device dalam diorang punya network environment. So how to cater in term in latency, how to cater in term in security. So we have to make sure our infrastructure must be equipped dengan the latest technology. That's very important. And the last thing is actually contact tracing. So what I want to share about contact tracing. So kalau tengok kat sini, it's actually kita boleh buat satu orang cakap solution yang mana kita boleh detect not only device, not only machine yang ada dalam kita punya network environment, okay, dalam kita punya premise, okay. So moving forward, right, which is dalam dekat kita punya US country using Wi-Fi not only to detect the machine, it also detect to the user. Okay, user yang mana kalau ada di symptom in Wi-Fi cakap COVID, right, they can dia akan bagi satu cakap satu so-called macam gelang, right, and then that orang cakap gelang tu dia akan bagi hantar notification. This is one of the wow factor in term in kita boleh monitor whether that patient is outside or inside with in hospital. Okay, this is for contact tracing. So the next slide is actually about Aruba. Okay, introduction about Aruba ESP is survey platform. So kalau bila cerita pasal Aruba, most of my customer only understand about wireless. Okay, so saya bila cerita pasal Aruba, saya more interested to sell what is a benefit to customer in term of features, right? So apa yang saya nak emphasize kat sini is actually AI Ops. Okay, dalam Aruba, bila customer saya purchase which is Aruba punya equipment, they not only to get one form factor switches. All the component already include with AI Ops, zero trust security, and also unified infrastructure. Well, please take note on this. Okay, this is a features. Okay, bila talking about AI Ops, nowadays most of customer asking me, hey Sabri, do you have any intelligent features? Okay, so call if I have 200 AP, if I have 200 switch, okay, and then pukul 2, after that, during afternoon, I will run, okay, video conference session. Is it dengan 2,000 student boleh tak accommodate? Is it 2,000 staff boleh tak accommodate during video session dengan menggunakan wireless? So what is the orang cakap problem, okay, before incident happen? This is AI ops that can do eliminate and also give the sixth sense. Okay, what is the component ataupun wireless problem akan terjadi during the event. This is called AI ops. Zero trust security, just want to emphasize, okay, saya just nak inform, which is we have to make sure user yang connect kita punya infrastructure daripada kita punya jabatan, right, must be embedded the highest security. I agree with my next speaker, our next speaker mention about the security must be straightened enough, not only on the perimeter gateway, it also must be embedded in the edge as the edge layer. So then the last thing is actually unified infrastructure. We want something that our infrastructure must be accommodate. If let's say Jabatan Komputer Negeri Sabah, right, have multiple branch, right, okay, because few of manufacturer, right, few of vendor, kalau campus punya solution, ini dia punya model. Kalau branch punya solution, this is the component. What about data center? Right, this is the solution. No. In Aruba, okay, what I want to tell you, right, is actually unified infrastructure. You can equip, you can embedded all the infrastructure across of the geography portfolio, which is campus, remote, data center, and branches. Okay, so all of this is actually the component that I want to share with you guys. Aruba ESP is sebagai platform yang mana include AI Ops, Zero Trust Security, Unified Infrastructure. Okay, so talking about ESP as a service, right? Before I jump, I believe nowadays most of our organisation, jabatan, right, kementerian, not only government sector, I notice it also impact to the private sector. So it's actually about the budget constraint. Okay, during the COVID situation, a lot of a company, right, want to reduce their resource, their manpower, and also want to do the budget. Okay, the budget must be deliver in must be execute in the proper way. Okay, so apa yang saya just nak bagi tahu, flexible consumption financial service option is actually this is what we offer to the customer. Okay, so if you're looking on the software as a service SaaS, okay, we also provide the solution, okay, to provide service subscription that offers software in the cloud and also on premise. This is what we can offer to the customer. And besides SaaS, we also offer to the customer, which is network as a service. For those customer don't want to do outright purchase, such as tender, everything because of the COVID, right? And then it's very difficult to do the paper, pelupusan paper, everything. So you can jump to another option, which is network as a service. So this option is actually we integrate with our third party partner, and then third party partner, which is SI system integrator, can do the managed services to your infrastructure, your component. Okay. So the last thing is actually financial services, flexible payment solution for network financing and secure access management. This is so-called buyback program. Okay, so jika, right, for next year 2021, okay, any of Jabatan Kesihatan Negeri, Jabatan Komputer Negeri Sabah, right, asking about financial services, you can ask us, reach us, right, because we can offer a lot of a package and a lot of a bundle. Okay, so I need to emphasize this, right? If you have any question, right, you can email to me, right? This is what I want to share. We not only provide the solution to the infrastructure, which is wired and wireless, we also provide as a service option solution. Okay, so the next slide is actually just want to share, right, urgent need to augment caregiver capacity. Okay, kalau tuan-tuan dan perempuan lihat kat sini, is actually kalau kat sini healthcare. Yes, correct. It's a true healthcare punya situation. So knowing healthcare, okay, hospitality, right, kebanyakan hospital di Malaysia ni mempunyai masalah apa yang saya nampak kat sini, which actually budget constraint. So apa yang Aruba buat, right, this year 1st April we launch our bundle program. Okay, this bundle program we select few hospital in Malaysia, then few hospital in Malaysia will get all the components such as Wi-Fi AP, switches, and also the sensor. That one is also is actually to give to the healthcare institution to help customer, because during COVID situation, what I notice here is actually kebanyakan hospital dekat Malaysia bila COVID dia akan buat satu, orang cakap outside test punya camp. Okay, so this is this is a so-called orang cakap kebanyakan hospital akan buat. So this is what Aruba offer to the customer, which is using healthcare bundle program, deliver all the component, either AP, if you see here, and also sensor into the small site extension. So what I want to emphasize is actually for those hospitality yang buat apa orang cakap satu expanded healthcare, which is called KEMA, right? So dia boleh dapat connectivity from outside. Okay, this is one of the good example, small site extension yang mana kebanyakan klinik kesihatan negeri, okay, dapat peluang, which is dapat kita punya komponen untuk membantu rakyat-rakyat yang terkena COVID COVID punya case. So the next thing is actually healthcare connectivity bundle, one of the last site extension yang mana kebanyakan hospital mempunyai masalah budget constraint. So our Aruba, right, deliver is actually, if you see here, 2 biji switch, okay, and then bantu hospital untuk memantapkan lagi in term in connectivity. Okay, ini adalah yang mana kita deliver pada few hospital yang dekat hospital negeri, if I'm not mistaken, yang mana hospital negeri akan dapat 2 biji switch, and then kalau tengok kat sini AP for outdoor AP. This is actually to address for those hospital yang perlukan kemah yang besar, and then untuk hantar data, in data, and then make sure outside of the building also can get connectivity. So from this is actually we reduce the pain point to the customer. Okay, so for those especially the frontliner. Okay, so this is one of example. So the Aruba ESP portfolio is actually campus, mid-market, work from home. So we realize that kebanyakan customer kita di Malaysia, right, masih lagi mengekalkan norma baru bekerja di rumah. Okay, not to forget di Semenanjung juga masih mengekalkan work from home. Macam saya tinggal di Selangor, yang mana baru dapat notice kita di Selangor extend PKPB sampai ke 14 Januari. So when talking about this situation, kebanyakan staff, right, intention about the connectivity. Few of my friends, okay, few of my partner in Semenanjung, right, having difficulty on connectivity, and then a lot of access. So apa yang saya nak bagi tahu, yang mana unified infrastructure, we offer this kind of infrastructure, Wi-Fi, remote access, wired access, and also the WAN connectivity, which is the router and compute, okay, server. Software as a service is actually Aruba OS, network management, security, location, network analytic. Okay, so kebanyakan kita bila banyak customer yang ada guna Aruba, and then dia nak emphasize, saya ada banyak branches, right? Macam mana saya nak monitor branches saya, ada orang tak datang ke office saya, ke office branches A. So we want something that orang cakap automation, analytic. So we do have a software that can monitor how many customer yang datang ke that premise if we have branches. And then the top layer is actually apa yang saya nak bagi tahu, best in class ecosystem, yang mana setiap infrastructure together with the software kita boleh integrate dengan third party partner ecosystem. Contohnya jika kita nak buat contoh analytic driven, right, and then kita nak buat technology partner such as the macam mana kita nak buat nak tahu berapa banyak kita punya branches, people yang datang ke office. Okay, kita boleh buat ekosistem. Okay, and then kita boleh develop kita punya, orang cakap, kita punya data and then come out the best analytic. Daripada situ kita boleh reduce kita punya kita punya space. Okay, we talking about reduce kita punya space. One of my customer in premise, okay, retail premise, okay, because knowing retail premise, kebanyakan dia akan sewa. Okay, kalau saya adalah owner of premise, saya akan bagi sewa, and then the tenant kebanyakannya dia akan limitkan dia punya space because of COVID situation, tak galakkan ramai staff ke office. So macam mana dia nak buat, orang cakap, make sure daripada data yang dia dapat tu, dia akan, orang cakap, limitkan, daripada situ dia akan give return investment, macam mana kita boleh generate income and then reducekan kita punya, orang cakap, monthly payment for the premise. So kita boleh buat a lot of ecosystem. This is one of the good example. Okay. So the next thing is actually introduction for the kita punya latest technology in terms wired and also Wi-Fi. So saya tak nak cerita banyak pasal wired and wireless ni. I'm more interested on the solution during this COVID-19. Okay. So if you guys have any question, alright, ada tak Aruba punya solution ni, macam mana kita nak powerkan kita punya Wi-Fi using orang cakap multi-gig punya switch. So apa yang saya nak emphasize kat sini is actually this is the multi-gig punya switch. Not only multi-gig punya capability, it also embedded dengan network analytic engine since day one if customer have this model. Okay, network analytic engine. Compare another vendor, right? Compare another competitor. If you want to do analytic, if you want to do some sort of poster assessment, right? A lot of component akan kena buat integration, which is cost pada customer. So unlike Aruba, right? Apa yang saya nak bagi tahu, kita ada solution which is wired, yang mana datang dengan network analytic engine, right? And also give a lot of features, okay? Come with together a lot of features, okay? Since day one. One of the good features is actually high availability. This is the switches. And then not to forget Wi-Fi 6 access point, new outdoor hospitality, okay, solution expand your option. Kalau tengok kat sini, ini adalah contoh orang cakap Wi-Fi remote access point. Right, remote access point is actually suitable untuk hospitality ataupun hotel, and also suitable untuk lecturer. So apa yang saya just nak emphasize, yang mana we sell this model kepada UTHM lecturer, yang mana lecturer boleh bawa this AP mobile ke mana-mana. Just connect. If let's say, if I'm the lecturer, saya akan bawa AP ni pergi ke mana-mana premise, as long as ada connectivity, as long as ada USB dongle, saya dah boleh dapat connectivity same macam saya dekat office. Okay, this is what yang kita buat pada one of the university. And then the last thing is actually sensor G series. Okay, is actually the sensor yang mana just to emphasize, yang mana this is component provide 24/7 pada kita punya network perspective. Bila cerita pasal Wi-Fi, wired, right? Most of the time network operation administrator, kebanyakan jabatan, right, ke government have difficulty to understand what is the major cause of the problem because dia punya customer banyak complain. And talking about this component, right, dia akan buat analyze during 24/7. Just imagine macam saya bagi resident engineer pada tuan-tuan dan puan duduk dekat sana, dia akan buat speed test. Right, this is called, orang cakap, user experience sensor. So bila tanya saya apa kegunaan sensor ni, alright, dia akan buat speed test, dia akan bagi satu report, dan report tu tuan-tuan boleh buat, orang cakap, customize, yang mana report ni let's say, okay, dari wired berapa banyak yang ada down, berapa banyak orang tak dapat connect. So this is what G series user experience insight sensor akan bagi tahu a lot of information. Okay, the next thing saya just nak emphasize, yang mana dalam bila cerita pasal Aruba, right, kebanyakan kita bila cerita pasal Aruba, is it the only Wi-Fi component yang provide wireless access? No. Okay, apa yang saya nak bagi tahu, okay, bila cerita pasal Aruba, we are open ecosystem. We are not locked off with specific proprietary, right? So contohnya kalau tengok kat sini, okay, kita boleh buat integration dengan Zoom, Microsoft, Okay, during this pandemic, kebanyakan kita menggunakan video conference dan kebanyakan video conference menggunakan Wi-Fi connectivity. Dan apa mekanisme, apa item yang menjalankan video conference is either Zoom, Microsoft, Google Team, macam-macam lagi. Right? So kebanyakan government sekarang ni masih ke arah modus operandi video conference. Dan kebanyakan video conference masih using Wi-Fi connectivity. Ini yang kita boleh buat third party ecosystem. And then Palo Alto is actually, kalau tengok tuan-tuan dan perempuan tahu kat sini, Palo Alto is a next gen firewall stream together with FireEye, right? So kita boleh buat third party ecosystem. Skyfi is actually boleh buat analytic. Okay, so ini adalah contoh-contoh yang kita boleh orang cakap open standard, yang mana kita boleh buat integration. Okay, so we have a lot of third party ecosystem. We have a list. Kalau tuan-tuan ada orang cakap existing component, boleh tanya saya, and then saya boleh check dalam saya punya database whether this component boleh integrate tak dengan kita punya Aruba punya solution. Okay, so I almost reach kepada last slide. Okay, saya just bagi high level saja apa itu Aruba and then apa Aruba boleh deliver. Okay, to build more confident. Okay, this is very important. Yang mana kalau tengok kat sini, tuan-tuan saya percaya tahu apa itu Magic Quadrant. Okay, analysis recognition. Saya panggil analysis recognition, yang mana one of the top of analysis recognition is a Gartner Magic Quadrant. So I believe bila sebut pasal Gartner Magic Quadrant, okay, this is as dated April 2019, yang mana kebanyakan user sekarang ni dah ke arah orang cakap either Cisco, Aruba, Extreme Network. Okay, ability to execute, completeness of vision. We have a lot of orang cakap features. We have a completeness of vision in terms of R&D. Again, always day by day introduce the new technology, the new features to the customer to make sure customer get the good operation level, and then also not to forget to make sure all the customer punya operation level in the tip-top condition. Okay. So if you look here, right, kalau tengok kat sini, Gartner also recognize, okay, critical capability, yang mana Gartner ni provide another scorecard. One of the scorecard, right, 5 out of 6 kategori kita score nombor 1, yang mana wired wireless LAN access. Kebanyakan customer dekat junior ni akan choose Aruba, right? The next thing is actually Cisco, and then the rest is either Juniper, right? Because wired and wireless LAN can do some dynamic segmentation, either from the user connect to the Wi-Fi, either from the user connect to the wired. All these of the component yang connect through wired or wireless, dia akan dapat same policy, same experience. Okay, this is what we want. Network and security solution you can trust. Okay, so saya almost kepada last slide. Okay, the future is the edge. Okay, another confident level. Okay, about the Aruba. Okay, so no need to doubt. Okay, no need to put a lot of confusion, right? So when talking about Aruba, it's actually we are well known. Okay, kebanyakan universiti dekat Malaysia ni banyak guna Aruba. Okay, contoh yang terbaik kita punya universiti yang di Sabah, UMS, end to end. Okay, guna Aruba. Okay, all the branches guna SD-WAN technology using Aruba, powerful by Aruba. And then if let's say Jabatan Komputer Negeri Sabah looking on IoT, right? Kita boleh cerita panjang pasal IoT because sekarang ni bila cerita pasal IoT, this is one of the industry revolution II 4.0. Okay. So experience the lead, okay, edge to cloud and also performance. Okay, all these of the component, all these of the point is actually already embedded in our solution. Customer first, customer last is actually kita punya so-called culture. Okay, apa yang saya nak bagi tahu, we listen what is customer need, we engineer based on customer punya need, with together with the latest technology. This is what I want to emphasize. Okay, so I think I almost reached kepada last slide, right? So this is the last slide. Thank you. I open for discussion.
Ya.
Looks like kat sini ada discussion.
Ya,
Okay.
Terima kasih Encik Sabri.
Ya, saya.
Ada
Sama-sama.
beberapa soalan sini daripada
Okay.
peserta. Yang pertama daripada Encik Izan. Good morning sir. Is Aruba customer aiming for the company only and not for individual?
Okay. One of the Question. Good morning, sir. Is Aruba customer aiming for company only or not for individual? Okay, we're talking about solution kita more relevant kepada orang cakap enterprise. Okay, so ada setengah customer saya cakap, Sabri, kalau saya nak purchase Aruba punya solution ni, a lot of features, right? Adakah sesuai diletakkan di rumah, right? Boleh, tak ada masalah, tapi saya tak berapa recommend. Okay, when talking about company, this solution is enterprise to same like macam Cisco is more suitable pada company. Those macam cakap SMB, right? Macam Soho, right? Kita ada beberapa solution, tapi kalau untuk individu, right, is more towards pada orang cakap normal punya connectivity such as macam TP-Link, right? Those of the brand. That's my answer. Okay. The next question. Salam sejahtera Tuan Sabri. Boleh share macam mana you manage network stability and connectivity yang disediakan? Isu signal loss kerap walau apa pun telco juga. Apakah telco yang you all right to connectivity yang menyediakan network with a good availability and bandwidth? Okay, daripada Michelle Wong, right? Salam sejahtera. Okay, macam mana saya nak jawab soalan ni? Kalau tengok soalan ni satu statement, tapi a lot kalau tengok soalan ni saya boleh jawab 3. Okay, first you manage network stability. Bila cerita macam mana kita nak manage network stability, saya selalu emphasize pada saya punya customer, okay, network stability itu adakah datang daripada wired ataupun wireless. Kalau wired, right, make sure you are proper. Okay, you punya proper in term in deployment. You ada core switch, you ada DST, you ada access. Kalau you punya, itu kita panggil 3-tier architecture. Kalau 2-tier architecture is actually core dengan access. Okay, make sure you punya orang cakap VLAN, everything, and then check. Okay, and then make sure enablekan feature-feature so-called macam spanning tree. Okay, STP. Because I'm realize kebanyakan customer selalu plug and play. Bila banyak plug and play, kebanyakan kita orang cakap disablekan feature-feature macam STP, and then that is because network a lot of problem in wired. Compare from macam wireless is actually something yang kita tak nampak, lagi headache. Right? Macam mana nak manage wireless punya stability? First thing first, before kita deploy wireless, the first step kita kena tahu is actually identify the environment and then do the right sizing and also orang cakap do the POC, proof of concept. Okay, make sure within this orang cakap satu compound, satu bilik meeting, berapa banyak AP yang diperlukan. We have to identify bilik meeting tu feature akan buat video conference ke tidak. We have to determine berapa banyak AP yang kita kena equip, bukan plug and play juga. Okay, this is what saya punya recommendation. Isu signal loss kerap walaupun telco. Okay, this is something yang orang cakap bila sebut pasal telco, bila telco adalah because of the telco punya cakap in term in signal coverage. Okay, so kalau kita kena tengok juga bidding of the material of the building, whether dia guna gypsum board, right, whether dia concrete, alright. So a lot of consideration kena tengok. Tapi apa yang saya nak emphasize kat sini menjawab soalan Michelle ni, right, is actually the good thing macam mana kita nak maintain about good availability, bandwidth, everything, right? We have to make sure kita punya orang cakap dari segi wired proper in term in deployment. Enablekan feature-features macam STP, right? And then make sure, right, jangan ada orang cakap plug and play, right? And then DHCP, DNS must be enabled and proper setup. Itu yang paling penting sekali. Okay. All content. The next question is actually David Ng. Content filtering and firewall capacity built into the nest. How are they managed? Alright. So yes, okay, bila cerita pasal network as a service, right? Yes, bila sebut pasal network as a service, kita macam saya cakap, saya emphasize tadi, yang mana kita as Aruba akan work together dengan SI, yang mana SI akan bagi manage services pada customer. Apa komponen manage services pada customer? Okay, bila sebut network as a service, network component, switches, software. Okay, bila cerita pasal software, okay, kita akan buat orang cakap query pada customer, what kind of software, what kind of firewall you require, kita akan enablekan benda-benda tu. So before we install, before we deploy, okay, normally kita akan buat study pada customer based on dia punya network environment. Okay, this is my answer. The next question is actually from Kamaru Zaman Abbas. Berapa harga budget untuk personal use? Okay, so this is a subjective, right? So saya lebih galakkan komponen ni di-deploy pada premise. Okay, di-deploy pada premise, yang mana premise macam enterprise, macam kita punya macam company, right? Untuk personal, right, saya boleh, kalau pada saya personal punya use, saya do recommend yang low end punya, orang cakap entry, right? So ada harga dia, right? Boleh email pada saya, okay? Saya ada bagi email address, boleh email pada saya. Okay, the next question, Muhammad Azizan Ismail. Since you are collaborating with third-party vendor, how do we protect sensitive information stored and harmed by team? Okay, good question. So kalau tengok pasal kita memang, okay, like apa yang saya emphasize, our Aruba solution is only because when talking about Aruba, most of my customer just think about wireless. Okay, just think about wired. Okay, no. And talking about Aruba, what I want to show to the customer is actually we are our security infrastructure component. Okay, bila sebut pasal security infrastructure component, we have a software. And then in term in wireless, okay, we embedded with the latest technology WPA3. Right, this is a latest technology. So apa yang in term information kita akan encrypt and decrypt with the based on kita punya algorithm kita punya sendiri. Okay, so most of the time kebanyakan customer yang guna Aruba, macam one of the example UTHM University, right, UMS, right, guna a lot of so-called kita punya policy manager, one of kita punya cakap identity management, yang mana for those student yang akan connect ke kita punya wifi, make sure ada the right element, the right identity, the right credential. Ini yang kita nak. And then bila dia akan connect through Zoom ataupun buat video conference, this is the credential. Okay, so kita akan store kita punya all the information based on kita punya algorithm, and kita akan keep kita punya orang cakap security itu dalam kita punya database. Okay, so berkenaan dengan how we protect sensitive information, okay, kebanyakan kita yang dah deploy Aruba, kita orang cakap maintain kita punya information. Okay, keep orang cakap information, and then kita use kita punya own algorithm, so called macam MD5. Okay, the highest security is actually preset key, alright, yang mana highest preset key yang mana recognize one of the orang cakap military punya US punya military recognize kita punya Aruba, right? Pentagon, which is Aruba using the highest punya security in term in to protect the sensitive information. Okay, this is my answer. The next answer, okay, just now, what is your comment about paranoia surrounding 5G, which in some conspiracy theory even link the rapid spread COVID-19? Okay, this is so-called based on this question, right? It's more general lah. Okay, paranoia surrounding 5G. Okay, so since saya dalam industri IT, telco, right, most of the time, right, kalau kebanyakan bila saya jumpa customer requirement 5G, is it 5G boleh accommodate tak dalam Aruba? The next question, whether 5G ni boleh tak orang cakap eliminate, right, spread of COVID-19, so so kalau tanya saya, right, 5G ni is something yang banyak dah kita nak kerajaan kita nak deploy, tapi kebanyakan 5G ni apa yang saya nampak more relevant pada dalam industri education. Okay, so bila cerita pasal 5G and internet is something yang mana kena ada orang cakap collaboration. We have to make sure kita punya 5G, okay, boleh integrate dengan kita punya ekosistem. That's very important. Dan bila integrate dengan punya ekosistem, make sure ekosistem which is kita punya product, kita punya infrastructure must be embedded the latest security. Itu yang paling penting. Okay, so I think saya dah jawab semua soalan. Okay, so any question?
Ya, Encik Sabri.
Ya, saya.
Terima kasih atas session yang tadi itu.
Ya.
Dan sebab pun masa dah tidak mengizinkan lagi.
Betul. So saya kat sini saya ada untuk just wrap up, Cik Isma, right? Saya sertakan kat sini saya punya email address sabri.hamzah@hpe.com. So insyaAllah mungkin selepas COVID punya situation, saya boleh melawat agensi tuan-tuan, right, kementerian, right, mana-mana di Sabah, right, jabatan-jabatan berkanun di Sabah untuk saya buat orang cakap latest technology update, okay, berkenaan dengan wired, latest technology. This is what apa saya akan deliver. Just to wrap up again, right, So Aruba is actually not only the Wi-Fi company, Aruba is actually the good security company together with wired and wireless. Itu yang saya nak emphasize. Next action is actually depend on you guys, okay? So if you require a lot of question about Aruba, okay, you require technology update, you require on the data center, the best practice, boleh ping saya, boleh email saya. So saya insyaAllah saya akan datang ke Sabah, right? Saya akan buat technology update. Okay, selalu saya akan pergi ke UMS, selalu saya akan pergi ke SUK Sabah. So for those yang berminat untuk saya beri the deep dive, okay, about berkenaan dengan Aruba, boleh contact saya. Okay, sekian, terima kasih.
Terima kasih Encik Sabri. Semoga kita akan jumpa lagi nanti di Sabah.
Okay, sama-sama.
Ya, kita akan kembali ke studio. Terima kasih.
Sama, okay, baik.
Terima kasih kepada Mr. T.S. Sabri Hamzah atas pembentangan tadi. Apa kata kita saksikan tayangan video yang ketiga daripada bahagian keselamatan cyber Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri Sabah, dan selamat menonton.
Salam sejahtera. Nama saya Ebenezer Godomon, Ketua Bahagian Keselamatan Siber. Di sini saya akan menjelaskan secara ringkas produk dan perkhidmatan yang berkenaan dengan keselamatan siber yang diberikan oleh Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri Sabah atau JPKN kepada Kerajaan Negeri. Secara umumnya, terdapat 5 produk dan perkhidmatan yang kami berikan berdasarkan fungsi-fungsi jabatan yang berkenaan dengan keselamatan siber. Yang pertama adalah khidmat nasihat tentang pelaksanaan dan pematuhan Information Security Management System atau kependekannya ISMS, satu pensijilan yang wajib dicapai oleh organisasi dalam kategori infrastruktur maklumat kritikal negara atau Critical National Information Infrastructure CNII. Setakat ini, JPKN iaitu di Ibu Pejabat dan juga di Pusat Data Kerajaan Negeri telah berjaya mencapai pensijilan ini bermula pada tahun 2012. Jabatan ini juga pernah membantu dalam pelaksanaan ISMS di Jabatan Air Negeri Sabah dan di Universiti Malaysia Sabah atau UMS. Jabatan ini juga memberi khidmat nasihat tentang hal-hal yang berkenaan dengan pelaksanaan dasar keselamatan ICT sektor awam negeri atau DKICT yang telah diluluskan oleh Kabinet Negeri pada tahun 2012. Perkhidmatan yang saya telah nyatakan tadi adalah berkaitan dengan fungsi mentadbir urus risiko dan pematuhan keselamatan siber atau dalam bahasa Inggerisnya Governance, Risk Management and Compliance atau GRC. Perkhidmatan yang kedua adalah menyampaikan program-program yang berkaitan dengan peningkatan kesedaran, ilmu pengetahuan dan perlindungan keselamatan aset ICT dalam kalangan penjawat awam negeri. Kursus-kursus berkenaan keselamatan ICT biasanya disampaikan dalam program anjuran Institut Latihan Sektor Awam Negeri Sabah atau INSAN. Jabatan juga mengadakan program-program kesedaran keselamatan siber melalui persidangan, seminar, ceramah, dan taklimat. Di samping itu, jabatan juga menerbitkan kalender bertemakan keselamatan siber, poster, sebaran maklumat melalui email, dan sebagainya. Senarai perkhidmatan dan produk yang saya telah nyatakan tadi adalah berkaitan dengan fungsi mengurus ekosistem siber jabatan ini. Yang seterusnya adalah berkaitan dengan fungsi mengurus daya tahan ancaman siber jabatan ini. Perkhidmatan yang berkenaan adalah melaksanakan Pusat Operasi Keselamatan atau Security Operation Center atau SOC. SOC adalah pusat kawalan bagi pemantauan dan tindakan susulan terhadap sebarang ancaman keselamatan siber, terutamanya terhadap sistem-sistem aplikasi Kerajaan Negeri yang diletakkan di pusat data di jabatan ini. Peralatan-peralatan spesifik yang dikawal selia oleh SOC adalah termasuk firewall, Security Information and Event Management atau SIEM, Endpoint Detection and Response atau EDR, dan kawalan terhadap Advanced Persistent Threat atau anti-APT. Jabatan ini juga memberikan perkhidmatan ujian keselamatan atau penetration test terhadap sebarang sistem aplikasi atau laman web Kerajaan Negeri untuk memastikannya selamat sebelum dilancarkan secara rasmi. Ia juga memberikan perkhidmatan ujian keselamatan secara berkala terhadap sistem aplikasi atau laman web Kerajaan Negeri yang telah dilancarkan untuk memastikannya kekal selamat. Yang seterusnya adalah berkaitan dengan fungsi memastikan kesinambungan perkhidmatan ICT sektor awam negeri jabatan ini melalui pengurusan kesinambungan perkhidmatan atau Business Continuity Management atau BCM. Perkhidmatan yang berkenaan adalah penyediaan dan pelaksanaan Pelan Kesinambungan Perkhidmatan atau Business Continuity Plan atau BCP, iaitu jabatan ini perlu memastikan perkhidmatan ICT sektor awam negeri sentiasa berterusan walaupun dalam keadaan bencana. Pelan ini diuji setiap tahun melalui satu simulasi pemulihan bencana atau Disaster Recovery Simulation Drill untuk memastikan bahawa kemampuan sistem-sistem aplikasi kritikal kerajaan negeri untuk pulih dari sebarang bencana mematuhi piawaian yang telah ditetapkan. Yang terakhir adalah berkaitan dengan fungsi mengurus insiden keselamatan siber sektor awam negeri. Untuk tujuan ini, jabatan menggunakan Sistem Track Insiden Keselamatan ICT atau STIK untuk mengawal selia dan merekodkan sebarang insiden yang berkaitan dengan keselamatan siber. Untuk membantu bahagian keselamatan siber dalam menyampaikan perkhidmatan ini, ia mempunyai kolaborasi strategik dengan pihak-pihak seperti Sabah Government Computer Emergency Response Team atau SGCERT, terutamanya pasukan Incident Response and Forensics, dan pasukan Audit and Assessment dalam SGCERT, Selain daripada itu, ia juga bekerjasama rapat dengan pihak lain seperti Sabahnet Sendirian Berhad, Cyber Security Malaysia, MCMC, dan badan lain yang berkenaan. Demikian penerangan ringkas mengenai produk dan perkhidmatan berkenaan keselamatan siber jabatan ini. Sila berhubung terus dengan kami sekiranya tuan-tuan dan puan-puan memerlukan penjelasan lanjut. Sekian dan terima kasih.
Marilah kita saksikan peserta yang bertuah untuk cabutan bertuah yang kedua. Tahniah kepada Muhammad Azwan. Seterusnya, tahniah kepada Jerian. Pusingan seterusnya, terima kasih kepada peserta yang berjaya dan tidak berjaya, jangan putus asa. Next. Tahniah kepada Azmi. Tahniah kepada peserta bertuah.
And our last speaker for today is Mr. Mason Tan, who is the Associate System Engineer from VMware, Malaysia. Please welcome Mr. Mason Tan.
Screen. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Nama saya Mason dan saya adalah Sistem Engineer daripada VMware Malaysia. Sebelum kita mula, saya ingin menceritakan bahawa kita ada FAQ session dalam presentasi hari ini. So, jika anda ada persoalan nak tanya or is there anything you would like to know a little bit more, right, just feel free to post your doubts or question in the FAQ session below. Saya ada colleague akan menjawab soalan anda, so you don't have to wait until the end of the presentation only you ask the questions. And that's something I would like to interpret that in this session is not just about my presentation. So the most important thing is to let everyone to understand about our solution. So just there's no such thing as stupid questions. So if you just feel like anything you have doubts, just post in the FAQ session below, and throughout the presentation my colleague will help and answer all your questions as much as possible. Okay, so marilah kita tengok agenda hari ini. Right, first I'm going to start with VMware Vision, then slowly I'll go into some of the global economy overview about this market nowadays, and slowly I'll talk about apa ialah work from home and what is digital workspace, and with some of the use cases as well. Right. So VMware Vision, right? Probably some of you here might have already seen VMware Vision before in probably some of the VMware events, and probably this is the first time you've seen this slide before, right? So VMware Vision actually is very important things that are very important that I would like to present in every time of the customer meetings, right? Because VMware Vision is actually like a blueprint for the customers and for us as an organization as well on how we could help our customers to transform their infrastructure environment. Dan anda boleh tengok dalam VMware Vision ini, kita ada any device, any applications, and any cloud. And what is that supposed to mean, right? Let us start with any applications. Right? When we talk about any applications, well, as you know, applications become more and more important in our daily life nowadays, right? A lot of our activities are based on applications. We use smartphone for applications, we use laptop or desktop to access different kind of applications to solve our daily problem. Okay, so what we are really trying to do here as a VMware, as a software company, is that we want to enable our customers to run all these different kind of applications on top of any environment, as you can see below in the any cloud section, right? Mungkin sekarang anda ada sudah your on-premise data center, which what we call a private cloud, right? And in the future, anda probably want to move to the public cloud, things like AWS, Azure, IBM, Google Cloud, and so on and so forth, right? Or you want to leverage the benefits of both of these different cloud environment, which what we call hybrid cloud, right? And the problem about these two different cloud environment is because of how different they are. If you want to manage all these different cloud environment, it will introduce some sort of complexity in your infrastructure environment. Okay, and what we really provide here as a VMware company is that we provide a consistent platform for our customers, to enable them to have some sort of consistency on the way on how they want to manage their infrastructures, right? So it doesn't matter if you're on your private cloud or you're on your public cloud, right? You get that same feeling on how you want to manage your environment, right? And till the end of the day, we enable our customers to run all these different kind of applications on top of any cloud environment. And of course, we want to enable our customers to have that kind of flexibility to deliver all these different kind of applications to any devices, to the end user, right? By using any device they have, right? Bagi dia ialah smartphone ke, tablet ke, laptop, atau desktop, literally any device for you to access all the resources that you need, all the company applications, different kind of applications that you want with any device you have, which is our topic today when we talk about digital workspace, right? And of course, when we talk about any device, any applications, and any cloud, we're not forgetting about the intrinsic security among all these three different segments. When we talk about all these these three different things, we're not forgetting about the security as well, as security is one of the main concern when a certain organization want to implement a different kind of technology in their infrastructures environment, right? Sebelum kita continue to digital workspace, let's take a look at this graph, right? In this graph, it kind of reflects about how our market is supposed to look like nowadays, right? And COVID-19, I believe everyone here in this session are well known about what COVID-19 is all about and how this COVID-19 affect our organization, our business, right? Tapi dari segi perspektif, as organization perspective, right? When COVID-19 comes, the first thing that come into my mind is that saya nak maintain saya punya business continuity dulu. The first thing that come into my mind, right? Jika saya tak boleh maintain saya punya business continuity, I will lose my business resiliency and efficiency. And this is something that most of the organization don't want it to happen, right? And in order to tackle these kind of challenges, in order to solve these kind of problems, we have to learn. I mean, as an organization, we have to learn how to adapt what we call a new normal, where we leverage on a certain technology to enable us to work from home, right? And this is where, the work from home culture comes in, right? And this not only, work on a certain industry, it actually happens to all kind of industry, right? Bagi Anda ialah, government organization or your healthcare providers or education institution, financial service or retail, right? And because of this COVID-19, we have all these different kind of restriction where we are not allowed to go back to the office to work like the way we used to be, right? And how are we going to, embrace this different kind of work from home strategy, right? And this is where we introduce the digital workspace, right? So work from home, nowadays is like a common thing that happen to every kind of organization, right? We are not able to go back to the office where, we are being forced to be able to work from home, right? And from an organization standpoint, how are we supposed to implement the work from home culture, which is something that we don't have before? And what are the challenges that we might face, when implement this kind of work from home culture to all the employees, right? So an organization, let me put it this way. I mean, myself, let's say I work in the government sector, for example, right? In the past, before the COVID-19, how do I go to work? Saya wake up early in the morning and, drive all the way to the office. Nah, saya buka saya punya laptop atau buka saya punya desktop dalam office saya. Nah, saya use that device to access all the applications I need to start my work. And after I do my work for 9 to 10 hours, right? For example, and then I shut down my laptop or devices and go back home, right? That's the end of the day. Pretty simple, right? But nowadays, because of different kind of restriction, saya tak boleh balik ke office saya untuk buat kerja. Dan macam mana saya nak buat kerja, right? You might say, just use your laptop or desktop that you have lah. But it's not that every employees have their own desktop or laptop in their house, right? And even though they might have all these laptop or desktop, but will the desktop or the laptop that currently they have support the applications they use to work, right? And this is some of the problems that we might face. And also the personal, device that we use to access company applications, is it safe enough to, access all these kind of application from our personal device? That's another security issue, right? And this is a very high level issue that we might face when we implement this work from home culture, a digital workspace culture in every of the organization, right? So what we actually can do here is that to provide a solution to our customers where bring convenience to the employees to work from anywhere they want, right? So instead, I have to go all the way back to the office to work, to access the company laptop or desktop. What if I can use any device that I have, right? Saya punya smartphone, saya punya tablets, desktop or laptop, right? I can use this, to access my company applications. So it doesn't matter in what kind of situation, I still can use my device to, do my job and remain productivity. And at the same time, make sure the solution that we provided is to make sure that, the device that we use to access all these different kind of applications is secure, right? Just now, from the previous presenter, we talk about, the zero trust security, where everything has to be authenticated, in order to access a certain resources that you want. And this is actually, this kind of concept is implemented in our security method as well, right? That's for, a general organization on how working from home supposed to look like. And what about healthcare, right? From an organization perspective, right? Let's say I'm from a health industry, I'm a hospital, right? So what is the things that we would like to focus, right? As a hospital, as a health industry, organization, what I want to focus is my customers, which is the patient, right? And in this, especially in this year, right? All the health industry are living in a tough time, right? All the healthcare worker, they're so busy. There's a lot of things they have to manage off in order to keep our health secure, right? And from an organization perspective in the health industry, I just want to focus on my patient. I don't want to put so much focus on the back end. I don't want to focus so much on the IT, infrastructures, what happened behind my back, right? I just want to provide the best experience for my patient, right? And that's what they want to do, right? So in this, COVID-19, pandemic situation, it actually, changed the way on how this healthcare industry nowadays operates, right? Previously, a lot of things, we have to go to the hospital or the clinic, to seek for help, of all kind of sickness. And because like what I mentioned this a lot of time, where we are in an era where we are restricted to go anywhere that we want, right? So from a clinical perspective, from organization perspective, right, with this kind of what we call digital workspace technology implement in the organization, right, we support, all these different kind of healthcare workers, to be able to work from home, with any device that they have, right, in order to still provide, the services to the customers, but at the same time, they don't really have to go all the way back to the office, to do their job, And of course, when we talk about customers face industry, there's a lot of important data that we have to be considered, especially when it comes to patient data, right? And with a digital workspace, our digital workspace solution, it actually give, the organization a way on how they could provide some sort of security measurement in any of these devices that involve of security patients data, the important informations they are accessing, right? So we actually cover up all these kind of different use cases, in order to provide the best experience for digital workspace for every organization out there, right? And when we talk about from patient perspective, with integration with different kind of solution, it could be an IoT, the patient itself could really get some of the really good experience that they could get from the health industry. Sometimes patient would like to know more about their current situation, about their state of health, right? They could, the hospital itself could provide, an iPad or some sort of devices for patients to view their own health, to have the visibility about some of the concern that they have, right? And nowadays, when we talk about COVID, especially as you can see on the right side, the community context, um, especially in Malaysia, right? A lot of patient, that involved is COVID in this COVID-19 situation is been increasing in a tremendous amount, right? It keep increasing, and the hospital, the pre-built hospital that we have is not enough to fit in all the patient, that you see is been growing nowadays, right? So they have to deliver a new site, which in a very fast pace, right? Because they don't have enough sufficient, sufficient hospital, or probably a clinic to provide to the patient, right? And when we talk about this kind of skill, of how we expanding the new care site, a lot of time when when this large amount of patient, it's difficult for this organization to track about the patient history, the patient information, right? And this is where the digital workspace solutions comes in, right? Where you can, even though it doesn't matter where you are, right? You can use your device to access all these different patients information is in almost at real time context, right? So whenever we have a patients coming into the hospital or some of the health sites, they can immediately know what is the situation of the patient, right? Which enable them to provide a more personal experience to the customers or the patient itself, right? And not only that, not only on the health industry, we also talk about education, right? Sekarang kita ialah dalam zaman yang susah, right? Bukan untuk health industry sahaja, tapi untuk education, right? And because what I said about the restriction, banyak sekolah-sekolah atau university have to close down, right? They are not, most of the student or university students, they are not able to go to the education institution to study, they have to study from home, right? And in the past, where digital is not that huge yet, we probably think that, they're just using a textbook, right? So they just have to use some sort of meeting software to do a class lesson, right? But nowadays, as technology keep expanding, all these students that have to, especially for university student, right? When they go to university, they need to have access to different kind of applications for their academic purpose, right? And if they study from home, they are not able to access all these different kind of applications, which will really affect, the study experience on how you normally do in the university, right? For example, before, you know, we have this work from home thing happen, before we have this what we call new normal, right? So student in a university, for example, you know, they have a session where they go into the lab, right? A computer lab, you know, and inside the computer lab, they will use the computer, you know, to access some of the applications for academic purpose, for learning purpose, right? And after, you know, a few hours after they spend their time in the lab, right, and they go out, right, and the lab will be open to the student from other class, right? And one of these problem about, you know, the typical lab is that they have a time span, right? So for example, in university, you know, of course, university don't open like 24 hours like what 7-Eleven do, right? So in a lab, right, of course, student can 24 hours access the lab, you know, to do their academic stuff, right? So that, you know, with this digital workspace implemented, you know, in this kind of what we call in education sector, right? One of the good thing is that, you know, student can access all these different kind of applications, different kind of academic software, you know, anytime they want, you know, anywhere they want with any devices they want, right? They don't really need to have a really powerful, you know, personal desktop to access all these different kind of applications that they need, right? What they need is just, you know, device they currently have right now, right? Everybody have a smartphone here. You know, I have personally, I have a smartphone and a tablet, right? I can use the device, I can leverage on the device that I currently have right now to access all these different kind of applications, right? Without, you know, waiting for the lab to open, or, you know, at midnight, probably I want to do some practical stuff, you know, when everyone is asleep, but I want to do some practical stuff for my academic purpose. I don't have to go all the way to the university to access the applications. I can just access all the applications with the device that I have, right? And all of these things, right? At this point, you might think that, you know, this kind of solution could benefit a lot of industry, right? Like I mentioned, healthcare, education, or government sector, different kind of industry right there. But you might think that, you know, well, from the front end, it might be a good solution to implement for the end user. But what about back end? You know, where you implement this kind of solution for the end user, for the organization, you might think that, well, if I implement this kind of solution, it could be very complex to manage, right? As you know, I can't really predict how many students I have, how many employees I have, how many end users I have, you know, and if they expand or shrink, it will be very difficult for me to manage. And this is one of the concern that we heard from the customers most of the time. And this is where we get the feedback from our customers and provide a solution that they could manage this kind of environment in one single platform, right? Actually give them an interface that simplify the way on how they manage all these different kind of environment, right? So it doesn't need to take a lot of skills, like really deep level skills, to learn all these things, right? As an admin, you know, or as an organization, right, you don't want to, you know, spend a lot of money to hire different kind of professionals to manage all this different stuff, right? You can actually, you know, simplify the way on how you hire people to manage all these what you think is complex infrastructures is actually a very simple way on how you manage your whole environment, right? And of course, right, like I mentioned, you know, there's always security implement in all this kind of stuff. Like for example, as a student, you know, you don't know what a student going to do with their device. They might jailbreak their phones, they might root their phones, you know, which exposed to different kind of security, right? And if you know, let the students to access the applications in their phone, which is not secure, you might think that, you know, someone might get hacked into the student phones and get some of the important information from the education industry or an organization, right? So one of the things that our solution that we can provide is that with this digital workspace solution implement in the user devices, right, it will automatically help you to check if the device is secure or not, and the device is it compliant or not, right? To make sure everything the device run as safe as possible before they allow you to access the applications, right? And probably at some point you might think that also as a student, they probably change their phone a lot of time and their phone might get stolen or something, right? If their phone gets stolen by a third party, right? And the one that stole the phone actually able to open the phone and access all these different kind of applications. So for example, me as a student, I have an iPhone and I have access to all my uh, university applications, which is quite confidential. I mean, the information inside. And then someday I lost my phone, right? And then someone take out my phone, they have access to my phone itself, and they take a look at the phone. I might have a possibility to access all these different kind of information, right? So from a student perspective, I could just call my admin, and say, hey, someone stole my phone. You got to do something about my phone itself. So the admin, from a remote area, they can automatically, choose to wipe all the important information in the device itself. So even if someone stole your phone and have access to your phone itself, once it's connected to the internet, all of the important information will automatically be removed, in a remote way. So, even though the people who stole your phone, they are able to open your smartphone, but they're still not able to access all this important information, right? Which is a lot of organizations out there are concerned about all these kind of different issue, right? So what about financial service, right? So this is a use case, it happened to me personally, right? Like for example, as I work, when I start working, in this company, of course, we are as a company itself, probably we not only accessing, one applications itself, I might access to different kind of applications, right? It could be a sales applications, it could be my email, my banking or my statement, all these different kind of applications that I could access. And in a traditional way on how you access all these different things, of course, you need to have your username and password, right? And for different applications out there, for different software, you have different username and password. And it is almost impossible, right? It depends, maybe that's a way, but it is quite difficult for you to remember all the username and password. And especially for elder people like my parents, right? Sometimes, they can't really even remember the username password of one software, right? So every time you say, Mason, I want to access these kind of applications, but I forgot my password and username, what am I supposed to do? So I have to do all the things and help them to reset the password, do this and do that, and probably, and this is just one application I'm talking about, right? What about other applications, right? Do you want to do all this password reset, all these kind of things for all these different kind of applications over and over again, right? You don't want that to happen. So with, digital workspace solution that we provide, probably this is the first time you heard about our solution. So our solution is actually called Workspace One, right? Which is our digital workspace solution, right? It actually provide solution for this kind of use cases, right? So just to give you a little bit insight about what Workspace One is all about. So it's like a service catalog, right? Where you log in into the page, right? Like your app store, right? You log in into the page. There's a lot of different software and application inside. And with our authentication, technology, right? You just have to log in into the portal once, right? And then you can have access to all these different kind of applications in that single portal itself without, you have to remember all these different username and password for different applications, right? And it could be a headache if doing this all over again. But what if there is a solution that you could, log in once and have access to all these different kind of applications? It actually simplify the whole things on how, you use all these applications. It actually make your life much simpler, right? And at this point, you might think that, I can access once and I can log in once and access all these different kind of applications. But that sounds very convenient, but that doesn't sound secure as well. But what if there is someone which is not me, access my applications, access my service catalog, which means they have access to all the applications, right? So not to worry about that one. Of course, we consider this in this kind of digital workspace solution as well, right? We have things like multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, and different kind of security measurement and security solutions that we implement in the solution to make sure our user, our customers, organization, the end user could have the best experience on how they access all these different applications and all these different software, and at the same time maintain the security audit on how they manage, on how they use all these different kind of applications and software, right? So throughout my presentation, right, I hope that you at least understand some of the things that I've said today. But probably at this point you might still quite confused about the thing that I've just presented, right? No worry about that one. So this is actually some of the key takeaways that actually summarize up what my presentation is all about, right? The first thing is productivity, right? As an organization, like I mentioned in the first slide, right? As an organization perspective, in any kind of situation, right? Like this year we have COVID-19. In any kind of situation, I don't want to let any outside factor that could affect the productivity of my organization. I want my organization, I want my employees to be able to remain productivity in any kind of situation, right? It doesn't matter what happened to the market. I just want my organization to run, business as usual in any kind of situation, right? And how am I supposed to do so, right? So with the integration of digital workspace, this actually give the end users, the organization employee, the flexibility to use any device they have. It could be your smartphones, your tablets, your desktop or your laptops, to access all the resources that they need, right? Anywhere they want and anytime they want, right? And of course, when you implement this kind of solution in your organization, you have to consider about the back end as well, where how they're going to manage all these, employees and users, right? So it actually gives you a visibility about the whole environment in one single platform, which actually give you, a much simple way on how you manage your whole infrastructures while at the same time provide the best experience to the end user. And last but not least, of course, the security as well, right? Which is what the most organization is concerned about, right? What if we implement this kind of solution in our organization? Is it secure, right? So like I said, right, just now, we are not only just talk about some of the security in this solution. We do provide different kind of security solution in throughout our portfolio, right? The one that I mentioned today is actually a very high level perspective on how can we secure, in this kind of digital workspace environment. Okay, so that's basically the last slide of my presentation today. Probably we see if there is any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. There's a question from Mr. Shukri. In your opinion, are Malaysian government ready for cloud adoption?
Okay, guys, this is Siva here. I'm actually typing the answer for Inche Shukri. But since we have time, I'm going to answer it live. Is it okay with you guys?
Sounds good, Siva.
Okay, so what happened is, right, first and foremost, in our opinion, is we need the Malaysian government agencies to first do an assessment of their existing applications and their data. Okay, because the reason we see is, right, there are a lot of applications, there's a lot of data, and some of the agencies do not have a proper inventory of what they are running and what they're using. So the assessment must be able to identify the criticality, the data sovereignty, and also the sensitivity of each and every one of those applications and their corresponding data. So once you have this particular inventory, right, in each of these agencies, then it is okay, you are ready to adopt cloud for those applications in your assessment, in your inventory, which is not bound by data sovereignty requirements and not bound by sensitivity requirements. Okay, so this is assuming you need to go to a cloud which is outside of Malaysia, which is being hosted by a cloud provider which is outside the country. However, you might also have some other cloud providers who cannot guarantee that the data will always remain in Malaysia. Okay, like some of them will say, we have a data center in Malaysia, but I cannot guarantee that my data will always be here only. So all those things are the factors which you should also consider. Having said that, right, today there are a lot of Malaysian-based cloud providers whose operations are solely based in the country. They might have a few data centers for disaster recovery, but all of them are actually residing within the country. So this is another choice for governmental customers. So to answer Mr. Shukri, yes, I think that the Malaysian government is ready, but however, we have to be very careful in not exposing sensitive application and its corresponding data to the cloud, especially if the cloud is residing overseas, which is beyond the jurisdiction of our country. Okay, but if those application and data, it is not sensitive, which usually at least 50% of your existing application, that can be moved. Yep. But first and foremost, each agency must know in detail what are the application which is currently being hosted, because over the years there's a lot of application build up within the DC as well. So I hope I have answered the question.
Thank you, Siva, for that detailed answer. The next question is from Mr. David Teng. How does VMware maintain applications SLAs consistently across hybrid clouds?
How does VMware maintain application SLAs consistently across hybrid cloud? Okay, so if Mr. David can just please help to elaborate more on what type of applications do you mean? Sorry, what type of application SLAs do you mean? If you can, if it's possible for you to elaborate, then I will go more in depth. If it's not possible, let me give you an overview now. So what happened is, right, so across hybrid cloud, right, the first thing is security. So what happened is we have something called intrinsic security, as what Mason mentioned earlier. which means, for example, if today you have an application running in your own data center, maybe in your office in Kota Kinabalu, right? So, so this particular application has its own security tag, his own firewall policies, his own do's and don'ts, right? But once you move the workload to another cloud, okay, let it be a public cloud or let it even be your DRC site, okay? Once you're moving this to the other side, uh, most of the time for a non-VMware based solution, you must reconfigure your firewall, you must reconfigure your security policies, your load balancers, every single thing, okay? When you move your application across hybrid cloud or even within your DR environment. So what we do is, right, with our intrinsic security, when we move workloads, okay, and when we move applications across hybrid cloud, we are not only moving the application, but we are also moving the firewall rules together. We are moving the security tags together. We are moving the load balancers, all these rules together with the workload. So in that case, right, network and security is intrinsic to that particular workload. So no matter in what hybrid cloud it is residing, in terms of security, the SLA is always protected. That's number one. And number two, right, for example, if you have things like performance SLA. So performance SLA, you can have things like, for example, I have configured things like IO storage IO control or network IO control. So, or maybe I want to group certain applications together. Maybe, for example, right, I have application ABC, and this application ABC has his own DB server, his own application server, and his own web server. So I can always ensure that no matter what, even though if I move across clouds, right, these three VMs within the same application stack has to reside on the same host. So even though if I move it into an environment which is on AWS, okay, from Kota Kinabalu, I actually migrate to a VMware cloud on AWS, right? I can ensure those particular rules which is pertaining to security and also performance is actually preserved. So this is another way. Yeah, so there's a lot of things which we can do, but the gist of it actually comes from our vRealize suite. So vRealize suite is our cloud management platform which helps us to manage workloads across multiple hybrid clouds, right? So you define the policies, and our cloud management platform will make sure that the policy is always adhered to. So I hope I've answered Mr. David Ng's question. If you think that you have more question, more in depth, and if it's not possible to type over here, you can always email Mason. I think Mason's email is there. We will also get back to you.
Okay, thank you, Shiva. There's a next question from ID. She says, I have used VMware Workstation Player before to open Ubuntu. However, it lags a lot even when using different PCs. Will there be an improvement for the particular software in the future?
Okay. We will have to get back to you on this because VMware Workstation is a product which me and Mason do not handle personally. We handle more of the data center products, but rest assured, please drop us an email. We will be able to report back to you. We do not want to give you any false promises now. So, but yeah, but please drop us an email. We'll get back to you. Or unless Mason knows the answer, Mason can help to answer.
I have no answer for that one.
Yeah, because we come from the enterprise group. We handle more of the data center products, but we will definitely forward your question to the relevant party. And if there's an email alias for this entire group, right, we can actually answer the entire group at one time.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we should just two more questions. Is that okay? Two more
Sure,
questions.
no
Okay.
worries.
So from Mr. Alvian, regard on cloud adoption in Malaysia, how secure the cloud, and should we host our own government data on private cloud?
Okay, so regarding the cloud adoption in Malaysia, if you ask me, we are not at an infancy stage, okay, and we are not at a mature stage. We are somewhere in between, right? How secure is the cloud? Very much depends, number one, on the architecture which you use to enable your hybrid cloud, okay? But if the customer says that I do not even want a hybrid cloud, I want 100% public cloud, then it 100% depends on your provider, okay? And regarding the question that should you host your data on private cloud, so I assume your question means private cloud in your internal DC. Yes, you should do private cloud for your sensitive and also your kind of applications which require data sovereignty. However, we strongly recommend you have a strategy for hybrid cloud, which means you have both private and public cloud. So in this case, right, just say you have a sudden requirement for, sorry, just say you have sudden requirement for burst, for additional capacity. You can always embrace the public cloud as well securely. Also, a lot of time, the turnaround time for new features to be added on your private cloud is normally slower than public cloud. For example, if you run your workload on AWS or VMware Cloud on AWS, right? They have ready tools where you can automatically use. For example, if you want a new chatbot, or if you want a new customer management system, or if you want a new AI tool, right, or Lambda and all those things, right? Those public cloud guys, they already have it, and you just have to tap their functionalities into your application. Versus if you want to build everything manually in your private cloud. So in a nutshell, you need both public and private cloud, but there must be a balance. And most importantly, you must have control over security. So we would recommend implementing a cloud management platform, okay, with intrinsic security. So meaning all your firewall rules, all your security tag is actually baked into your application VM. So no matter where you move your VMs, right, that policy should always follow you. So even if I move my workload from my Kota Kinabalu DC to my Sandakan DC, my firewall rules should follow me. If I move from my Sandakan DC to AWS cloud, those firewall rules and whatever zero trust rules should also follow me. So yeah, so in this way is secure. I hope I've answered Mr. Elvian. Next question, can I go to Cik Farah's question?
Yes, maybe this is the last one for today, Mr. Siva.
Okay, so Miss Farah has asked, what different types of server software do VMware provide? Okay, let me answer this question first. So VMware provides, number one, the software for compute virtualization, which is our VMware vSphere. We help the customer to virtualize their servers, meaning we help them to save a lot of money and increase their uptime at the same time. Okay, so we give you the best of both worlds. Number one, by doing compute virtualization. Number two is we also have the server software to do software-defined storage, which is achieved through our VMware Virtual SAN software. So this is our hyper-converged enabler. So we enable the customers, right, to embrace hyper-converged, but still giving the customer the choice of the hardware platform of their choice. For example, if you want to buy Dell hardware ke, HP hardware ke, IBM hardware ke, siapa-siapa lah, okay, you can buy any hardware of your choice, but still manage to do hyperconverge without lock-in. So that's our second major software. The third one is our network virtualization tool, which is called NSX. We help the customer to do network virtualization. So together, all these three major tools, right, is something combined and gives you the capability to do software-defined data center. Okay, and besides that, we also have our cloud management platform, things which help you to do operations management, automation of your cloud, and also business insights of your cloud. For example, if one agency, right, they have a own private cloud on 2 different DCs within the Sabah Island, how do you know how much is costing you to run each individual application? And if you move it to the public cloud, right, how much is it costing you? Can you do a cost analysis upfront? So we even give you this kind of tools. Okay, so these are some of our major software side, server side softwares. And for your second question, Puan, I do not get it. You asked, does VMware offer dental insurance? As far as I know, no, we don't offer dental insurance. But,
maybe it's because it's close to lunch and they're just waiting for their lunch.
okay, it's okay. But maybe there was a typo. But if there is not a typo, we do not offer dental insurance. If there's a typo, you can resend the question back to us. We can answer your queries.
Okay. Since we are running out of time, thank you, Mason and Siva, and we hope to see you soon in Sabah, maybe to do more product placement. And
Definitely.
maybe we'll give you 5 minutes to just wind up.
Okay, so I will pass it to Mason again. So Mason will give a quick wind up, and also maybe if possible, Mason, just help to type both our email addresses in your deck now for them to contact us if there's a need.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Siva. Right. Well, thank you very much for attending this session today. I'll leave my email here in this chat session. Just give me a second. I put my email in the chat box below. So if you have any questions, you could send an email to me, or Siva, right, for further inquiries about, regarding our solutions. And yeah, I think some of the concern is, what kind of software that we provide, to our customers, right? Like what Siva mentioned, we do provide different kind of solutions from different perspectives, right? Compute software, storage, networking, cloud management, and the one that I presented today, which is the digital workspace. And actually, we do provide a lot more than that, right? Just in the future, probably you might interest in what kind of solution that we provide in depth. Just feel free to contact VMware and our partners. We could have another session to, provide more insight about what kind of solution that we could offer, right? And thank you very much for attending this session today, and have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Mason. Thank you, Siva. And
thanks, everybody.
Yeah, have a good year next year.
Yeah, please stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, okay. Bye-bye. I'm going back to the studio. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terima kasih kepada Mr. Mason Tan atas pembentangan tadi. Seterusnya, apa kata kita saksikan video keempat daripada ahli jawatan kuasa Sinaging Web Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri Sabah. Selamat menonton.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Saya Rosita binti Muhammad Rah dari Bahagian Perancangan dan Penyelidikan Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri. Saya juga selaku pengerusi Jawatan Kuasa Laman Web Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah. Apa itu Sinaging Web? Sinaging Web adalah portal yang mana bertindak sebagai platform untuk menempatkan beberapa template laman sesawang yang boleh diguna pakai oleh semua jabatan, agensi maupun kementerian di bawah Kerajaan Negeri Sabah secara percuma. Permohonan boleh dilakukan dalam talian. Kesemua template yang disediakan adalah mudah, ringkas dan mesra paparan. Pengguna hanya perlu menumpukan perhatian penuh kepada paparan maklumat jabatan, agensi ataupun kementerian. Webmaster tidak perlu risau tentang isu keselamatan. Sinaging Web telah dilengkapi dengan ciri-ciri keselamatan laman sesawang agar template tersebut selamat digunakan. Siapa penggerak Sinaging Web? Sinaging Web adalah kerjasama gabungan dua kumpulan utama, iaitu dari kumpulan teknikal 4 orang kaki tangan Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri dan 7 orang dari kumpulan Jawatan Kuasa Laman Web Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah yang juga merupakan kaki tangan Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri. Ciri-ciri utama Sinaging Web adalah: 1. Reka bentuk yang optimum. Paparan semua template adalah responsif terhadap skrin peranti yang digunakan. Template juga direka bentuk menggunakan bootstrap. Yang kedua, pengkalan data yang selamat dan teratur. Pengkalan data adalah terkini dan kumpulan teknikal memastikan backup sentiasa dilakukan mengikut masa yang dijadualkan. Yang ketiga, reka bentuk laman sesawang. Direka bentuk khas dan terkini. Pengguna boleh memilih mengikut kesesuaian dan keperluan. Keempat, akses tanpa had. Elemen capaian pada bila-bila masa diperlukan dan tidak menghadkan penggunaan jenis peranti untuk capaian. Yang kelima, kumpulan sokongan teknikal committed. Kumpulan ini sentiasa membantu pengguna melalui jawatan kuasa laman web, yang mana kumpulan ini boleh dihubungi melalui email webadmin.akns@sabah.gov.my. Template Sinaging Web. Template ini telah dibangunkan oleh kaki tangan Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri dan dibantu oleh pelajar latihan industri. Terdapat 15 jenis template ketika ini. Template dinamakan mengikut nama-nama lokaliti di Sabah oleh pencipta template. Setiap template ini adalah unik dan berlainan jenisnya. Berikut adalah jenis-jenis template. Antara kelebihan Sinaging Web adalah: 1. Terdapat pelbagai jenis template sebagai pilihan kepada jabatan, agensi maupun kementerian yang berminat. Yang kedua, tiada kos pembangunan maupun pilihan template. Semuanya percuma. Yang ketiga, tidak melibatkan skrip pengaturcaraan semasa membangunkan laman sesawang. Sesiapapun boleh membangunkan laman sesawang melalui penggunaan template. Yang keempat, template mampu untuk menyesuaikan paparan mengikut peranti yang digunakan semasa melayari laman sesawang tersebut, sama ada menggunakan telefon bimbit maupun komputer. Yang kelima, akses tanpa had boleh dicapai pada bila-bila diperlukan oleh pengguna. Yang keenam, mempunyai kumpulan teknikal yang bertanggungjawab untuk memastikan keselamatan pelayan dan laman sesawang sentiasa terjamin. Sinaging web ini dikendalikan ataupun web hosting by sepenuhnya oleh Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri dengan kerjasama Sabahnet Sendirian Berhad. Moto Sinaging web, mudah, senang dan pantas. Sinaging berminat dengan perkhidmatan kami? Layari Sinaging web di pautan https://cms.sabah.gov.my/sinagingweb. Sila lengkapkan borang anda seperti yang tertera. Tikkan terma dan syarat yang telah dibaca dan kemudian klik mohon. Sekian, terima kasih dari kami Sinaging Web.
Untuk cabutan bertuah yang terakhir, adakah anda bersedia? Jom kita lihat siapa yang bertuah. Tanya kepada Rosita. Seterusnya, tanya kepada Eric Chua. Seterusnya, yang terakhir, tanya kepada Margaret Kwan. Terima kasih dan tanya kepada peserta yang berjaya dan kepada yang tidak berjaya, jangan putus asa. Anda mungkin akan bertuah pada webinar akan datang. Untuk makluman kepada pemenang, sila email maklumat lengkap anda kepada blk.jpkn@sabah.gov.my. Saya ulang lagi, blk.jpkn@sabah.gov.my untuk menuntut hadiah anda.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Bersyukur kita kehadrat Allah Subhanahu wa taala kerana dengan limpah kurnia dan keizinannya kita diberi ruang dan peluang untuk bersama-sama program webinar ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 pada hari ini. Rimbun sungguh si pokok buluh tumbuh melata di tepi kali. Anugerah ICT 2020, ICT cemerlang kita hargai. Kemuncak program hari ini adalah pengumuman penerima anugerah ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah bagi tahun 2020. Ia adalah sebagai penghargaan kepada Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah yang aktif dalam ICT. Anugerah ini dinilai dari segi 1. Jawatankuasa ICT jabatan dan agensi yang aktif. Yang kedua, kepimpinan dan penglibatan agensi dalam usaha-usaha kerajaan untuk membangunkan dan melaksanakan projek IT sektor awam. Yang ketiga, mengoptimalkan penggunaan sumber manusia agensi untuk tanggungjawab ICT agensi. Dan yang keempat, penglibatan dalam mesyuarat CIO dan seminar ICT CIO Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah. Anugerah ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah 2020 terbahagi kepada 2 kategori. Yang pertama, Anugerah CIO Peneraju ICT dan yang kedua, Anugerah Agensi Digital. Sekarang tibalah masanya untuk warga perkhidmatan awam Negeri Sabah mengetahui penerima Anugerah ICT Agensi Kerajaan Negeri Sabah bagi tahun 2020. Dipaparkan sekarang para pemenang tersebut. Syabas dan tahniah kepada semua penerima anugerah sebentar tadi. Bagi yang tidak berjaya pula, teruskan usaha Anda mengaplikasikan ICT dalam perkhidmatan jabatan masing-masing supaya perkhidmatan Anda lebih mantap dan cemerlang. Saya akhiri program ini dengan serangkap pantun. Membuat tugasan di pagi hari agar ilmu mudah dipelajari. Maklumat diperolehi melalui teknologi pemakin masyarakat berteknologi tinggi. Sekian, terima kasih.
Bagi pemenang anugerah ICT AKNS 2020 peringkat wilayah jatuh kepada Dan anugerah laman web terbaik AKNS tahun 2020 jatuh kepada
Terima kasih dan tahniah kepada pemenang-pemenang anugerah. Dan berakhirnya sesi pembentangan 3 keynote speaker webinar ICT AKNS tahun 2020. Maka kita sudah berada di penghujung program webinar hari ini. Sebelum saya menutup bicara, sekali lagi peringatan mesra kepada penonton yang masih setia bersama kami. Bagi pihak Jabatan Perkhidmatan Komputer Negeri, sekalung penghargaan terima kasih kepada bahagian operasi ICT JPKN yang menjadi rakan penyiar program pada hari ini. Terima kasih kepada semua warga JPKN yang terlibat dan setia menonton siaran kita hari ini.
Only from me and Muhammad Saifuddin bin Karim, your lawyer today, apologize if there is a mistake in the past. The best thing comes from the one whose all shortcomings come from my own weakness.
Salam hormat, terima kasih daun keladi, wabillahi taufik wal hidayah, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Audio Jungle. Audio